To kick off, Mike Hogan and Ben Grant with you. Aside from the quarterbacks, give me a couple of the newcomers to Toronto that you're intrigued by so far.
I'm really interested in seeing Deontay McMahon get some run tonight. He's a running back that I didn't think the Toronto Argonauts needed coming into this season because their running back room is stacked, and that's going to be one of the more difficult decisions that this coaching staff has to make. We saw a little bit of him last week in Hamilton, and if you watch any of his film from McNeese, you know that this is a special runner. So I'm really excited to see him hopefully get a little bit more time than he got in Hamilton and really see what he can do. Because what surprised me so much is we knew what he could do on the outside. Every CFL fan has fallen in love with a scat back that has come in and burned up the sideline and scored 80-yard touchdowns. That's not really what we saw from him in Hamilton. He was working inside the tackles, and I wasn't expecting to see that. He may be more than was advertised based on watching his McNeese tape.
He's listed at 5'9". That might be generous.
Mm-hmm.
He is remarkably quick. And last year, as you mentioned, he played at McNeese State, decent conference. 7.4 yards per carry is insane at that level. But he went undrafted in the NFL, and Pinball Clemens, Vince Magri, and Alex Russell very quick to pounce on Deontay McMahon. Give me another name. Give me somebody on the defensive side.
Defensively, I have fallen in love with Quantez Stiggers, and he's getting the start tonight at the boundary corner spot, vacated by Jamal Peters signing with the Atlanta Falcons. And it'll be interesting to see how much time he gets out there because he held his own, not only held his own last week in Hamilton, he ended up with an interception, made some really nice plays. And so if we can see him with a little bit more extended run tonight, I think that would be pretty cool to have a 21-year-old rookie actually make the Toronto Argonauts, which I think is very much a possibility with Stiggers.
There are guys who come up here or guys from U Sports who will stay here and come into their first pro camp, and something will jump out at you. And the one thing that he has that a lot of receivers wish they had was his ability to high point a ball. And his timing has been excellent in camp. He had an interception in the game in Hamilton. His story, go through it in a nutshell. He was going to go to Lane College, and tragically, his father was killed in a car accident. So he stayed home. He's got a big family. He was kind of there to look after them. Went and played. Thought football was done. Went and played in the fan-controlled league last year, and tied for the league with 5 interceptions at the age of 20. This is a lot of former NFL guys and NFL wannabes in there, and he more than held his own. And when he was signed, I asked Vince Magri about him. He said, this guy could be something, and he has been better than advertised. Josh Bell, the defensive backs coach, saying he sees him playing 5 of the 6 positions potentially over the course of his career. So, he could be that guy, and yes, another good one to look at.
There are also a couple shiny new toys that the Argos have, and those I'm interested to see too. I'm not sure how much time they're going to get, but seeing Williams at middle linebacker, seeing Flo or Malade on the defensive end, that's something that we probably won't get too many snaps of tonight. But, yeah, it's fun to watch those guys. Fun to watch them in practice. Fun to get a little bit of glimpse of them in the double blue scrimmage and a bit last week in Hamilton.
And the Argos all in the new light blue uniforms tonight. Light blue on light blue on light blue with the darker blue numbers. They will get the ball to start tonight, and it will be Javon Leake, the running back, dropping back with a Darius Pickett, who actually did some returning at UCLA, so it's not adverse to him, but the new Sam linebacker will be there as sort of the off-back, assuming that Javon Leake is going to line up across from the kicker.
And this is a big day for Javon Leake, too, because I talked about Deontay McMahon really making a push to make this roster. It's probably Javon Leake that he's up against if you look at the balance of Americans and Canadians in that unit. And so if Leake can continue to demonstrate that he is the team's best kick and punt returner, which I think we can safely say he is at this point, then he'll probably win that job. But, yeah, he's got to have a big night. And in terms of Pickett across from him, Hamilton picked on him a little bit last week. Like you said, Hoagie, he's got some experience in that spot as the opposite returner. He did that last year in Montreal with Chandler Worthy opposite him. He's a really nice lead blocker on this return team. I love to see him back there, but Hamilton only kicked to him when he was back there last week. Let's see if Ottawa changes it up this week.
Jake Julian will do the kickoff. couple of years ago, 2021, was their 4th-round draft pick. And he will be given the honor tonight. Usually, of course, Lewis Black or Richie Leone. They've got options there. Ottawa not bringing the main guys this week, as is the norm for a preseason game, but most of the starters back in the capital. So we are ready to go here, just waiting for our head official tonight, Thomas Cesare, to blow things in. And we can start this game in Guelph. Leak to the near side. Darius Pickett wearing 6 up top. There's the whistle. We're set to go. Julian's kickoff is high, and it will be taken by Leak at the 17-yard line. Cuts to the middle, looks for a block. Looks like he's going to get the edge, 25-30. Out to the 40, hurtling his way out to the 43. And that's where we will see Chad Kelly lead the offense onto the field. Starting offensive line, Shane Richards, Ryan Hunter, Peter Nicastro back at center, Gregor McKellar, and Dejan Allen. A.J. Ouellette will be the first back. We'll get to the receiving corps momentarily. There's a look at Kelly. Hero of the Grey Cup a year ago, coming in for an injured McLeod Bethel Thompson in the 4th quarter. And they will go ground game. A.J. Ouellette will fight for a couple of yards out to the 45-yard line.
Yeah, there's not too much there on that. There's a man unblocked on the wide side. He just came in and got a piece of AJ. It was enough to trip him up. You don't always trip up AJ Ouellette with one arm, but sometimes, every so often, you get lucky.
Starting receivers, Devontae Coatsy, Davaris Daniels, Markeith Ambles, Cam Phillips, David Unger III over from the Hamilton Ticats. Second down and we'll call it 8. Kelly over the middle has a man. It's caught at the 45-yard line. Markeith Ambles takes the hit, but moves the sticks. It's a first down, Toronto.
And we've been seeing plays like that all training camp where Ambles will just settle down in space. Ottawa in cover 2 there. Ambles found a little hole, and it does not take Chad Kelly long to get it there. He's got a rifle, and he just absolutely zipped it into Ambles for the first down.
Markeith Ambles' career highs last year, 72 catches, 737 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Toss play to Ouellette, near side, cutting back in to the 40-yard line for a gain of 3.
It's funny when you look at the distribution of plays in preseason games. We saw this a bit last week, too. It doesn't always make football sense in the truest sense of the word, because they're trying to evaluate guys. And so you sometimes will go away from your quarterback, even though he might be in a hot streak, make a nice throw like that. You might want to go right back to it, but they're trying to evaluate the O-line, the run blocking, also trying to look at some of the plays they've got out here, too.
Kelly was supposed to start in Hamilton last week, felt a little arm tightness, and they said, let's be safe. And he'll drop back here under pressure, goes over the middle again, has a man on the crossing route. It's Ambles again to the 14-yard line, and once again the Argos move the sticks.
And that was just a dime from Chad Kelly. Ambles didn't have much separation looking at cover 1 there, and he came across the field, and there's about a 1.5 feet of space where Chad Kelly could have put that ball, and he was on the money. He looks like there is absolutely no elbow issue bothering him today.
So the Argos will set up in the red zone at the 13-yard line on the left hash mark. Brissett and Neild will go wide to the right. Spencer Nichols in a fullback. They'll give the ball to Ouellette. Cuts to the 5. Touchdown. A.J. Ouellette with the first major of the game, and it's a 6-0 Toronto lead.
Huge block from Ryan Hunter there. And that running play is exactly what you want to see from the Toronto Argonauts. Last season, it wasn't until the midway point of the season where we finally got to see some rushing touchdowns from the Argonauts. They just couldn't buy a rushing touchdown last year, and it makes such a difference in the red zone. When your running back is actually a threat to score, it forces the defense to play very differently.
Well, in for the conversion attempt is Alfredo Gachuz, who was the Argos' first-round selection in the global draft this year. All-time leading scorer in the Liga de Futbol Americano in Mexico. Had a minicamp appearance with the Pittsburgh Steelers before officially signing here in Toronto. And he converts, and it's 7-0 Argos. Nicely underway. 3 minutes and 5 seconds into this game.
I don't know if that opening drive could have gone much better. If you asked Coach Dinwiddie before the game, how do you want that opening drive to look? I think probably something like that. Chad Kelly 2 for 2 with 2 gorgeous passes, both on the money, one in zone coverage, one in man. and then a rushing touchdown. Like we said, the importance of that can't be overstated.
Would you put Kelly in the next series?
I would. I actually think Kelly should get quite a bit of time tonight. I don't think Coach Dinwiddie's going to agree with me quite. I wouldn't mind seeing him play the full first quarter because he just hasn't had a lot of time. And I think this game experience and the film that will generate from it that he can go back and look at is not going to replace playing time from last season or what have you, but he just needs reps. And I know you don't want to put your number one quarterback in harm's way in the preseason, but I really do think Chad Kelly can use it. And as good as he looked on that drive, 2 throws for me isn't enough for, not just for the coaching staff. They believe in him. They've decided he's the guy, but for him and his learning curve and what he's got to see in a CFL defense.
So dropping back is Devontae Williams to the near side. Led the team last year with 454 yards. As we await Lozada's kickoff here. Reminder that the first 10,000 fans to show up at the home opener June 18th will get a replica ring. That's not bad. Also
excellent.
get a chance to see the Grey Cup banner displayed for the first time.
And I love who it's all in front of.
The Hamilton Tiger Cats. If you got a rivalry, use it.
It's the best time to unfurl a championship banner when the rivalry is in full go, when you've got your crosstown rivals in town.
Gachuza's kick will be taken along the far side. Across the 20 to the 21 is Scarver. Savon Scarver, the first-year player out of Utah State. Always known in the CFL for being Anthony Calvillo's school. And the Red Blacks will take over at the 28-yard line, trailing 7-0 to the Argos, nicely underway here in Guelph. And Tyree Adams is the starting quarterback. Seems to have a pretty good grasp on the number 3 job in Ottawa, which may be the number 2 job to start, depending on the health of Mazzoli. Set up the Argos starters here in a couple of seconds. The pass is complete across the 40-yard line, and that will be a first down by Jaquan Bray.
You mentioned Jeremiah Mazzoli maybe not making it out to week 1. That was something that sort of caught us off guard this past week. We heard some comments coming out of Ottawa, and it sounds like he might not be ready. I kind of thought Nick Arbuckle might be given a go here, but the last thing Ottawa needs right now is another quarterback injury. They just couldn't afford it, and so he's not going to play tonight.
Adams, out of Western Carolina, will hand the ball off, and that is to Demontre Tuggle. From all of a sudden, CFLU, the University of Ohio, A.J. Ouellette, Nathan Rourke, among others.
That was just an Ottawa line that was overmatched. Hendricks got in there. Williams came in there. What you see right now, you've got so many projected starters or at least contributors on the Toronto line, and Ottawa's team is just not composed that way tonight.
Dwayne Hendricks, Sean Oakman expected to start, but Brinkman is in there right now, or Imolade and Smith on the edges on a 2nd down and 11 from the 40. Back to pass is Adams, flushed out of the pocket, wants to go long. He's going to go long and has a man wide open at the 20-yard line who will pull it in down to the 10. It's Emmanuel Butler with the catch, and that will be a gigantic gain for the Red Blacks.
That was a split second away from being a sack. Arimolade made a really nice inside move. He got held up by traffic and just barely missed getting to the quarterback before he unleashed it. And that's a huge game and exactly what Ottawa needed to respond with here.
1st and goal, a mark it at the 8-yard line. Play action. And running toward the end zone and getting there is Tyree Adams for the touchdown. Are they going to give it to him?
I think they're going to say he's short. It looks like
down
he's
at the 1.
Just short. And they had Argos in man coverage there. He was able to break contain and get to the outside. It's so tough when you're a man to peel off your defender. None of the DBs were able to get their head around and see him heading towards the goal line, but Toronto just stopped him short.
Well, the knee did go down at the 1. Impossible to tell from our angle whether or not the ball was extended beforehand. Obviously, the officials have a much better view than we do, but it will set up a 2nd and goal from the 1. Empty backfield. Tyree Adams under center, falls forward with a flag down.
This is probably going to be offside on Toronto. I think that touchdown's going to stand.
And we'll wait for the call. Here's Thomas Cesare. So it's Isaiah King lining up offside. You'll see that with the first-year American players. He's up from the University of Buffalo. And he lines up, I assume, offside. I didn't see any movement per se, but guys aren't used to that 1 yard, and it's really easy at that point of the field. All you've got to do is look at the goal line.
That's why it's so frustrating, because it was like, I get it anywhere else, but when the ball's spotted on the one, you've got a giant white stripe on the field in front of you. You put your hand behind it.
Lewis Ward, pride of Kingston, Ontario. I'll get that one out of the way early. Will come in to convert the touchdown and drills it. And we're tied at 7 with 8:45 remaining here in the opening quarter.
That's a nice response from Ottawa. It looked early, just based on that first Toronto drive and the opening play we saw from the Argos defense, it had the feeling that this one may be over early. But, yeah, really nice deep pass from Ottawa. Gets them in position. They score a touchdown, and 7-7 halfway through the first. This could end up being a good one.
Should get the rest of the starters in. We didn't get the back 8 in per se. Jordan Williams starting in the middle. Adarius Pickett at the Sam. Jonathan Jones at the Will. The corners, Quantez Stiggers. And I didn't see if McFadden is dressed or not. He was a game-time decision. Didn't notice he was out there. Deshaun Amos and Caleb Holden are the halfbacks, and Royce Mechie, who played here at the University of Guelph.
And it's a beautiful facility. I love being able to, for the second year in a row, see a preseason game played here. And it's such a treat for the fans in attendance. And it's pretty packed if you look out there into the stands. It's a great place to watch university ball. To watch CFL football here is, an absolute treat. And I'm glad it no longer feels like we're on the surface of the sun like it did about an hour ago, Hoagie, because it was hot on that field.
And Royce Mechie, as mentioned, played on this field. So did his brother Miles. He was a linebacker here. Leon, another brother, was a defensive back at St. Mary's. And, there's John Mechie III, second-round draft pick with Houston in the NFL, who we are hoping, obviously, feeling better. Missed all of last year with a leukemia diagnosis. I haven't asked Royce how his brother is specifically yet, but there was some good news last year, and we hope that continued, obviously.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him actually get out there and play the game he loves. That's obviously what you want to see, but first and foremost, his health is obviously everyone's first concern.
Well, dropping back, here's the man that you wanted to see, Deontay McMahon, wearing number 24, wearing number 87 is B.J. Bird, who had a couple of touchdowns last week and a two-point conversion against the Hamilton Ticats.
And these are both guys that are fighting for those American spots. B.J. Bird, like you said, had such a great game, but there's such tough competition there in terms of the American receivers. He may have to do something special on special teams. And we'll see if they kick it to McMahon, because that's definitely what I'm rooting for here.
And here's the kick, and it will be to the diminutive Deontay McMahon from McNeese. 20-yard line near numbers. 25 into the crowd and not out of the crowd. Squirming forward for at least a yard and a half more, out to close to the 32-yard line. And indeed, it is Chad Kelly leading the offense out.
Yeah, there just wasn't any space at all there for McMahon. There were two unblocked cover team members from the REDBLACKS coming down the field, and he had no choice but to get as much as he could by trying to split them. But there wasn't the kind of hole that we saw on the opening return for Leak as he was able to bounce it to the outside.
Andrew Harris now in as the rotation begins with the Toronto Argonauts. Some changes up front as well as Kelly drops back, goes over the middle again, and has a man at midfield. It is caught to the 40, to the 30. It's Dejan Brissett. Knocked just shy of the 30-yard line to the 32.
There were a lot of options there for Chad Kelly. Not only was Brissett wide open, he had Daniels open as well. I think Brissett's the right guy to go to. He was on pretty quick pace on his way across the field to the sideline. And it's great to see him step up, too. We talked about the American receivers. These Canadian receivers are in a pretty big positional battle as well.
Second overall pick in 2020 out of University of Virginia. And it's a running play. It's Andrew Harris, who did not play last week. He has won 3 consecutive Grey Cups, 4 in his career, and he'll take that one close to first down yardage.
And you got to see Ryan Hunter out there on the outside blocking a corner, which is always something that an O-lineman likes to do if he can get a hold of him, and he did there. Bailey for the REDBLACKS, he's probably looking at at maybe making a case to be a starter out there. I know they've lost Money Hunter. The boundary corner position may be open for him. And so if Bailey has another nice game tonight, that could go a long way. But I don't think he wanted any part of Ryan Hunter in that one.
And they will go play action. Rolling to his right is Kelly. Will get rid of the ball. Has a man at the 12-yard line on the curl. And that will be good for another first down. And once again, it's Dejan Brissett, who made the early candidate for catch of the year on a 2-point conversion in Hamilton last week.
Yeah, that catch. One of my favorite moments from last week was seeing Josh Haggerty walking in the tunnel after the game, right next to Brissett, and he said to him, "That is going to be the catch of the year. By the time we get to the end of the season, that will stand."
And back to the ground game. Stutter step for Harris. He's met in the backfield. Nothing doing there. And it was Frankie Griffin coming up from Texas State at San Marcos, second-year Red Black with the tackle.
And there was just nothing that he could do at all. It was just one of those cases where as soon as he got the ball in his hands, there's the defender in his face.
Sets up a 2nd and 12 from the right hash. Kelly with Harris behind him. We'll look at 3 receivers to the near side. Drop back and look that way, and he's going to go for it all into the end zone. Double coverage and in and out of the hands of the defender. Little overthrown by Kelly, and that will bring out the field goal crew, led by Alfredo Gachuz.
And that's just a ball that Kelly shouldn't throw. And the thing is, you're going to get that from Chad Kelly this season, but not just because it's his first year starting. That's just sort of who Chad Kelly is in a way. You're going to get the positives that come with having a gunslinger out there, and you're going to get some of the negatives. We saw it in the game that he played a little bit last year, where he'll just give his guys a shot sometimes in the end zone.
Bruskeson had one, and it was like, okay, that's going to get intercepted. Oh, it's a touchdown. Okay.
Sometimes it works.
Here's Gachuz for 3. And it's 10-7. Argos with 5:40 remaining here in the opening quarter.
What I did like about that incompletion that Chad Kelly threw, not so much the decision, because I don't think it was the right receiver to go to. Ottawa had a twist on, and Kelly saw it developing and just took a quick peek and then saw that his guys were in the position to pick it up. Kelly adjusted his feet, showing really good footwork, settled, and then made the throw. I wish he'd gone somewhere else with the ball, but from a quarterback that doesn't have a ton of professional experience, you expect to see happy feet, you expect to see him rush, and we really haven't seen any of that. He looks like he belongs here. He looks like the starting quarterback. He's got poise, and we know he's got confidence.
And the good thing, and this is any quarterback in any sport, he was pretty clean on the first couple of series.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Coach Dinwiddie would have been hoping for. And you wonder if they are going to roll the dice and put him out there again, or if 10 points, 2 scoring drives, and 2 possessions is enough. And now you start rolling in quarterbacks 2, 3, and 4, who we know are going through a very important audition today. And Coach Dinwiddie hasn't hidden that. He's talked about the fact that if he's going to lose sleep over something, it's going to be who QB2 is. Maybe the next drive we'll get to see the first candidate for that job.
Well, again, when I talked to Dinwiddie for the article that I wrote this week for Argonauts.ca, he said, you want to be number 2 because then you're just one hit away from playing. Or he said, one play away from playing. I'll use the quote properly. And it's the truth.
And
so some changes made already. We're all seeing out here at the near side on the field half. We have Mason Pierce, who had an interception last week. He's been quite the revelation up here. He's had a really good camp from the football powerhouse, the Colorado School of Mines.
I love that one. I think that's such a unique place to have a football player come from. And, of course, they do have a football team there. That is not an easy school to get into. It's pretty much engineering or bust. And
your guy, Quantez Stiggers, over on the other side as the boundary corner. It's Adam still in at quarterback. He'll take off and get maybe 4 yards on first down. Jared Brinkman, among others, in on the tackle.
Argos actually had pretty good pressure on that, but one of the dangers, and you see this sometimes from Aromalade, we saw that a little bit last year in Calgary, occasionally they will get too deep because they're trying to go around the outside with speed, and with a mobile quarterback, it does open up windows, and so in that case, there was room for him to take off and gain a few.
Jonathan Jones in on that tackle as well. Led the Argos in the Grey Cup last year with 5 tackles. Last year. Adams again on the curl, has the receivers in front of Stiggers. And that will be a first down, Ottawa, thanks to Seosi Mariner. Hope I got that right.
I can't take my eyes off Ermolade when he's on the field. He came again within inches of deflecting that ball. They're lucky that was a very fast developing play. Just a quick three-step and fire, because any longer, and that's probably a fumble because Ermolade was going for the ball.
He didn't have a lot of sacks last year, but he had a ton of pressures, which can result in interceptions. As back to the ground game go the Red Blacks. And a short game there for Demontre Tuggle.
Jordan Williams came up and made that tackle. He's another guy that I love watching. Last week we saw him drop into deep coverage. And how often do you have a middle linebacker where pre-snap you're thinking, I better keep my eye on that middle linebacker in case he drops back into deep cover 2, which is what we saw Jordan Williams do. There he fired through the gap and really nicely wrapped up the runner.
In his 2 years in the CFL, he has 181 tackles, defensive tackles, not including special teams. Adams looking long again, and he's got a man down the sideline that's going to go for the touchdown. And again, that's Mariner with the catch, his second of the drive. And the second time the Red Blacks have dialed up a deep one against the Argos.
There's just some miscommunication there, and there have been, like this game so far today and last week as well, soft spots in zones, and it looked like a communication issue there between the corner and halfback, but there was just this little window, and that ball was floated in beautifully. King ended up getting over there, but was just a bit late, but it looked like he probably should have been over top from the beginning. I don't know what the coverage call was on that play, but obviously you can't have a receiver streaking down the sideline like Mariner was there for the touchdown. But yeah, they're going to have to go over that on the sideline and see what happened.
Lewis Ward will come in and try and dot the I. And not surprisingly, it's straight as an arrow. And it's 14-10 for the Red Blacks over the Argos with 3:14 remaining in an opening quarter.
Zone coverage is really difficult. It takes a lot of knowing the guys next to you and just sort of understanding just generally the team concept and how it's supposed to look. It's easy to draw it up on paper, but suddenly when there are moving parts out there, to be able to close space and keep guys covered at all times is tough. And we saw some issues with that last year early in the season, and they eventually settled down, and that's something that we've seen a little bit last week and again today, with there just being a little bit too much in the way of gaps between these defenders.
Ryder, you can pick up your tickets for Argo games, argonauts.ca. Just click on the ticket window. I'm going to give you a little bit of an advance warning here. On June 6th, make sure you're following me on Twitter, right, at Mike Hogan Argos. I will give you a discount code for 3 home games, including the home opener. How's that for a tease? So if you want to get a cheaper ticket for one of 3 games, including the C&E game as well, Argonauts, or just go to Twitter, Mike Hogan Argos, and I will give you on June the 6th, I'll give you a discount. How's that?
It's already,
I'm a nice guy, aren't I?
You are a nice guy. This is just the kind of thing you do, and it's already the best deal in the city. In terms of entertainment value, Toronto is not a cheap place to live. You know, having lived there my whole life, it's never been a cheap place to live. But these last few years, it's getting really difficult, and the cost of entertainment anywhere is high. And, you know, whether it's other sporting events or, you know, you want to go see a play, a musical, an opera, it's going to cost you a lot of money. To come see the Argos is the best deal in the city, from food prices to ticket prices, to be able to actually bring the whole family and not break the bank. You can't beat it. And so, yeah, hopefully to make it, even without the incentive, it's worth it. But, yeah, June 6th.
And I will be on board all day, giving you an opportunity to get cheaper Argo tickets. At Mike Hogan Argos on Twitter. Here's the kickoff. And once again, it's going to be Deontay McMahon taking it at the 16-yard line, looking for blocking to the left, and will fall down, go boom at the 29-yard line. And that's where the Argos with Chad Kelly coming out once again.
And that one was on McMahon, and that's too bad for him because he really did have an opportunity. There was some space, and it looks like he just got a little bit ahead of himself, tripped on his own feet.
Same offensive line that started this game in for the Argos as well. Harris in as the running back. And we'll see Coxey come to the near side. Neild and Brissett go up top. Harris will line up in the slot and now run back behind Chad Kelly. And play action to Harris. Kelly wants to go long himself. He's got a man with a flag down. And Deontay Coxey tackled at the 38-yard line. So we'll see what the first flag is, because I think we know what the second one is.
Yeah, I think they're both going to end up being on Bailey, the corner, trying to cover Coxey.
We'll wait for Thomas Cesare to give us the news. And it's going to be good news, Toronto.
Defensive pass interference, Ottawa, number 24. Ball replaced at the spot of the foul, automatic, first down.
Hakeem Bailey.
Kelly was looking there the whole way. He knew he had man coverage on the outside. The play action didn't really do much for the coverage there. That was just Coxey beating his defender. He got free down the sideline. There wasn't a ton of space, but the interference definitely played a role in him not breaking free.
They'll set it up at the 38-yard line and give the ball to Andrew Harris, who goes into the pile and goes down to the ground inside the 40 to about the 38-yard line, which is where they snapped it. So it'll be 2nd and 10.
And obviously we're not going to see much in the way of substitutions on the O-line as long as Chad Kelly stays in there. I would think you'll see that entire unit stay with Kelly. And as soon as he comes out of the game, that's probably when Toronto is going to start rolling in other pieces along the offensive line.
Second down, we'll call it 11. A short loss on the play by Harris. And Kelly looks things over. 3 to the near side. Ball on the right hash. And he'll roll and throw across his body inside the 35 with a flag down. Ball well short of the first down, but this is going to be a hold against the Argos.
There was a late blitz there, and it looked, again, I like what Kelly did with his feet. He was buying himself some time. There wasn't anything open early. The pocket started to collapse.
Number 62, the 10-yard penalty, replay, first set.
And so he scrambled a little bit and waited basically until a receiver broke open, which he eventually did. Took a little tiny bit of a shot at the end there, but nothing that the coaching staff would be too worried about.
Ryan Hunter, an example of good things come to those who wait. He was selected in the first round in 2018 by the Argonauts and didn't see him until September of last year because he was down in the NFL, adding a Grey Cup ring to his Super Bowl ring with Kansas City. Kelly now rolling around, looking. There's an Argo lineman down on the ground as Kelly gets hit at the 43-yard line.
There's a number of concerns on that play, from having an Argo lineman down to Chad Kelly taking an unnecessary hit. When you're facing a 2nd and 21, as that was, Chad Kelly's obviously not going to get the first down scrambling. He's got to know to just slide in that case.
And it's Shane Richards who is sitting down, the one-time first overall pick by the Toronto Argonauts, who has fit nicely into that number 6 lineman role because he can play both tackle and tackle, and he seems to, or guard and tackle, and he seems to be in a considerable amount of pain right now. Josh and Mark out there working on him, the exceptionally gifted crew the Argos have here in terms of therapists.
Yeah,
See if we can look at it again. He got his ankle hooked on a teammate. That was McKellar, and he getting their ankles hooked up. I don't think I've ever seen that one before.
That was the strangest injury I think I've ever seen. So taking another look at that, that just doesn't happen. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But hopefully he's going to be okay. But it doesn't look good. He's, as you said, in a lot of pain down there on the field. And back to what happened on the play with Chad Kelly scrambling to his left, you could see him directing traffic out there, and his instinct was to look deep because, again, that's the type of quarterback that you're getting in Chad Kelly. This is a guy that will look for a home run when the play breaks down like that. He rolled out, but what I liked is that unlike with that first throw when we sort of went a little bit off script and threw into double coverage into the end zone, there he decided to keep it. It just wasn't there. He was trying to redirect traffic. Nobody was open, and instead of launching it and risking an interception, he decided he would get a few yards. And it's not like those yards are meaningless because they may be in field goal range now, but I still think you sacrifice that one extra yard to slide. And I don't care who you are as a quarterback in that situation. It doesn't matter that you're the number one. There's no sense for any quarterback taking a hit with that down in distance, seeing what he was looking at when he looked upfield.
Well, the bad news is Shane's still down. Oh, looks like he's going to get up now. That's a lot of weight to be put on your ankle at the wrong angle. He's 6'8", 325. And there's Dariusz Bladek out to help him off. And putting no weight at all on that left ankle. A very unfortunate injury. Just a very strange injury. That's Peter Nicastro out there as well, helping his fellow Calgary resident head to the sidelines.
I love to see that from a guy like Nicastro, to sprint out there on the field and help his teammate off, help his positional group buddy off the field.
So John Haggerty into punt. He led the CFL in punting average last year at 48-2. One of those high end-over-end rugby-style kicks. It'll go down at the 2-yard line at the numbers. And looking for a way to escape and not quite getting there for the Red Blacks was Savon Scarver. And he'll get out to the 11-yard line, so Haggerty gets the job done.
I have to believe that wasn't a tactical decision, but rather a preseason evaluatory decision. Because I think they could kick that field goal there. They've got the range from both their kickers. That's not really a concern from that distance. But I think what they wanted to see is Haggerty trying to pin the Red Blacks deep, trying to coffin corner them. That was a really nice punt. Ottawa got lucky to get it out to the 10, and so that tells you how well placed and with what hang time Haggerty was able to put it out there.
So a first down at the 11. And in at quarterback and going down, Tyree Adams is still in there, and there was a sea of blue, a full crew of Argonauts, as it were, getting to the quarterback inside the 5-yard line.
And we saw some exotic stuff on that play. King there on the halfback blitz. He's now playing the halfback position next to Quantez Stiggers on the boundary side. And they sent him, his timing was a little bit off. And so he wasn't the guy that ended up getting there, but there's just so much pressure, and it's been that way all night from that front four. It can generate it on their own.
Looked like it was Flo Arimolade who got him inside the 5 at the 4, setting up a second down and 18 on what will be, unless there's a penalty, the final play of the opening quarter. And it's a draw play and snuffed out perfectly by the Argos, back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a yard, and it'll set up a third down from the 5-yard line as we have reached the end of the first quarter. It's 14-10 for the Red Blacks over the Argos. You are listening, or I guess viewing, the Argonauts stream today on CFL.ca. As the Red Blacks have a third and 18 from their own 5-yard line. And Javon Leake is back at his own 50-yard line. So wouldn't surprise me if we see Ottawa give up the safety here. Although they'll be kicking off a little closer to their own goal line. Jake Julian is the kicker, standing 10 yards deep on the checkerboard here at Guelph. And there's the wobbler, and it will be Leake taking it at the 52-yard line of Ottawa and just tripped up. Javon Leake, when he is really feeling it, has those really high knee kicks. He really gets the legs up pumping, and he just got tripped up there, or he may have gotten quite a few more yards off of that one. But nonetheless, the Argos in field goal range now with a first down at the 43-yard line. And is that Dukes or Scott? We do have the quarterback change. And it is indeed Cameron Dukes in at quarterback out of Lindsey Wilson College. And they will give the ball to Harris still in the game, and Andrew will take it down to the 38, 37-ish yard line for a decent gain.
I love the fact that all 4 quarterbacks on the Argos represent everything going on in NCAA and NAIA football. You've got someone playing D1 in Chad Kelly. You've got a D2 quarterback in Ben Holmes at Tarleton, D3 quarterback in Brian Scott from Occidental, and then Cameron Dukes, NAIA. Like you said, Lindsey Wilson.
5 to get here on second down. And Dukes will go over the middle. Has a man. Is that B.J. Bird with a diving first down? It is down to the 27-yard line. Nice catch. Cameron Dukes, in his career at Lindsey Wilson College, 114 touchdowns, and he rushed for 34 more. That's insane.
He's a pretty fun player to watch when you go back to watch his Lindsey Wilson tape. And I did some more of that this week after his performance in Hamilton. I'll tell you a little bit more about that after this play.
First down at the 27-yard line. 4 receivers come to the near side. Dan Adebaboye is in as a running back, and that was just a little bit low looking again for B.J. Bird.
He played last week like his hair was on fire most of the time. And it just looked to me at first glance, again, it was successful. He had a great showing. It didn't look sustainable to me just because it was just so bizarre. And when I went back to watch his college tape, I was expecting to see a very different player. But that's just how he is. He just plays at that level. And you see him doing that, setting all sorts of records, touchdown records, yardage records. That's who this guy is.
Neild will go in tight to the formation after starting out wide. Under pressure, rolling, getting out of it, rolling to the left, and just getting rid of the football and putting it in the direction of a receiver along the far sideline in Haydel. And is there a flag on the play? There is. Thomas. So Hakeem Bailey again will get the penalty, which will keep this drive alive. And as you were mentioning, the scrambling ability of Cameron Dukes, he just put it on display there.
He's in his wheelhouse. When he is running away from 2 giant tackles, he could not be more comfortable. It's just how this guy rolls. It would put anybody else completely off. But yeah, that's his wheelhouse.
And now they'll pitch it out to Adebaboye, and he'll get tripped up. Big loss on the play. We'll set up second down and long.
That's a play the Argos brought in late last season. We saw it used in the East Final and again in the Grey Cup. This sort of play that's making it look like a run up the middle and then the quarterback pitches it out wide. But Dukes just didn't have the timing down on that one. And so Ottawa never collapsed into the middle and really bought that was going to be a middle run. And that's just something that's going to take a few more reps.
Aaron Johnson in as the left tackle now as we see some different players get in. And now wanting to run the ball is Dukes, and he's got a big hole up the middle down to the 10-yard line, 3 yards shy of a first down. So 2nd and 16 becomes 3rd and manageable, and why not go for it in a preseason game?
And that was sold well, but that was the design run from the start. That was a quarterback draw play. You can see Van Dahl taking off downfield, and you had blocking from the receivers right away. But what faith you have in your quarterback with that down and distance to call a quarterback sneak.
Van Dahl, the 8th round pick out of Sherbrooke, leading the way. 3 to get on third down. They're going to gamble. 3 receivers near side. Play action, and here goes Dukes again. And he is going to throw the ball to the end zone, overthrew an open Ungerer. He had him. Little bit high.
And that one you have to put on the shoulder of Cameron Dukes. He had 2 options there. He had the option to run early. He decided he wasn't going to take it. If he had decided at this moment here to turn on the jets and run, he makes that first down. He takes contact, but he makes the first down. He decided his receiver was going to open up, and he did, but then the ball just came in too high. He's got to make that throw.
And there's where you're hoping it's Rajay Johnson in the end zone at 6'4", as opposed to, David Ungerer, who's not 6'4".
No, and you might have needed Sean Oakman in the end zone on that one. It was a high ball, but
Don't say that, because Oakman wants to play tight end.
I bet he does.
He wants a shot as a tight end, which would be entertaining. 14-10 is our score. Red Blacks leading. 4 minutes remaining here, or 4 minutes gone, rather, in the second quarter. Mike Hogan and Ben Grant from X's and Argos. Plug your little podcast thingy.
Oh, I will definitely plug my podcast. If you want to hear more about the Argos, we've got a post-game reaction podcast after every Argos game and a pre-game walkthrough podcast in the week leading up to the game. And you can find that directly delivered to your phone if you subscribe to X's and Argos on your favorite podcast app. Yeah, I don't think there's a defensive lineman out there who doesn't think they can't play tight end, and half of the offensive linemen have that belief as well.
Well, and Oak was, did play basketball in Philadelphia. I believe their high school won a state championship in Pennsylvania, which ain't easy. But he thinks, I can do this. He's talked about it often over the couple of years he's been up here, and he was actually at it again this week on the sidelines here in Guelph during practice.
You don't want to say no for a few reasons. First of all, because he's a gigantic man. But second of all, because it makes some degree of sense. He's a fantastic athlete. He's ridiculously coordinated, too. I saw them doing a drill, I think it was the second day of training camp when I was out here, and they were sort of running stations. Coaches were running different stations around the field. And so they actually had every positional group doing a coverage drill. And Oakman was there in coverage and working as a receiver and really looked the part.
New QB in for the Red Blacks. Dustin Crum will take over with a 4-point Red Blacks lead here. Take over their own 10-yard line. Movement up front and a quick hitter over the middle, and that will go incomplete. And again, he was looking for Emmanuel Butler.
And that looked like an RPO to me. Just watching this side of the field, it looked like there was an option to swing it out.
Deontay Knight, 10th overall pick in the draft a year ago, who was just ridiculously good at Western, where they would line him up, in A gap, or they'd play that wide 9 with him and just kind of move him all over the place. Doesn't matter the technique, he was doing it there, but settled in here at defensive tackle with the Argos. They're going to bring some pressure from depth with Pickett, and the ball will come over to the near side, close to first down yardage, as making the grab was Jaquan Bray.
That was the exact same action that they had on the previous play out to this side, but Ottawa did a much better job blocking it. Deshaun Amos was in there, but couldn't quite shed his block and make the tackle in time.
Set up second and short yardage and falling forward for the first down. Red Blacks will continue their drive, which started obviously very deep in their own zone after causing the turnover on downs.
I don't like watching quarterback sneaks in preseason games for the same reason that, and just like Ottawa punted it out of their end zone, you were right when we talked about how they were probably going to take a safety there. I think in a regular season game they would have, but in preseason, what's the point of taking a safety when you can get more film on a punt return? I think the same thing there. Like, why quarterback sneak? Why not run a play and evaluate guys instead of risk getting guys hurt?
And that play gets blown up by 2 players. Pickett came in and followed up what Sam Acheampong started.
Acheampong came flying through there. He didn't quite get enough of him to bring him down. He just lost his grip at the end. But we saw Acheampong playing at Wilfrid Laurier had one of the fastest first steps, and there he uses a swim move and flies at that size. At that size, it's ridiculous to get off the ball with that speed.
I don't know how many times I'd watch him at Laurier and go, oh, he's offside, and then you realize, no, he wasn't. He's just got... Now, he does go offside, don't get me wrong, but he's really good at timing that up for whatever key he can get, as now we're going to see Crum scramble up the middle. Good run by Crum, who's going to take it out to midfield and step out of bounds at the Argo 54.
One of the dangers of running that double twist that Toronto had on there is that it does open up the middle briefly. And, yeah, he took advantage of that, and there was all sorts of space as the twist action happened. They just didn't quite contain. And, yeah, he's got enough speed to carry it all the way, not just for a first down, but for one of Ottawa's bigger plays of the evening.
Probably surprising Deontay Knight with his burst of speed there. Barlow had the penetration, and he flushed him toward Knight. And now ground game for the Red Blacks, who will get maybe halfway to a first down. Demontre Tuggle with the carry.
On those twist plays, it's a lot to ask for the defensive tackle to suddenly be the contained guy. It's a difficult thing to do in the CFL level with a mobile quarterback like that, but they also get so excited about rushing around the edge. That's where a lot of defensive tackles' sacks come from, is from those mix-ups in blocking. And so, yeah, he just came around the outside and kind of forgot about that responsibility as he was looking in at the quarterback.
2nd and 5 from the Argo 49-yard line. They're going to bring pressure, and they jumped. That was Robbie Smith who jumped. Was he drawn? He says yes. But what does Thomas Cesare say? Justice Powers, first-year player out of UAB, Alabama Birmingham, was the guilty party.
I think Powers,
they were actually working on that this week, of reacting when there's movement, just getting up and making sure you make contact and point.
Powers was probably relieved not to look up and see Flo Malade there because, yeah, he gave Powers nightmares throughout that first quarter.
So 2nd and halfway home becomes 2nd and 11. Crum back to pass. Comes to the near sideline. Jump ball. Nice catch. Emmanuel Butler at 6'3" skied and took it away from Stiggers.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous catch. Argo's playing cover 4. Stiggers in great position and ends up making it a contested catch situation. That ball, it's probably the only place it could have been thrown. But, yeah, what extension and a catch. You can't put that one on Stiggers. That was nice coverage.
That's shades of Gino Lewis right there, high-pointing a ball like that.
Yeah, and having the grip strength to be able to hang on to it, hanging on to the back end of the football.
They will go maybe ground game, they do. And that got blown up by Barlow. He read that perfectly. I think even though they're playing and they're competitors, I think both the Argos and Red Blacks can agree it's good to get Gino Lewis out of the East.
Yeah, I think everyone's happy about that. I think everyone was pretty tired of seeing Gino Lewis make these ridiculous circus catches.
14-10 Red Blacks, 6 minutes remaining here and change in the opening half.
I like how exotic some of this play calling's been from Coach Mace this week. That was Caleb Holden coming on a halfback blitz again there. We've seen a couple of those tonight.
2nd and 12. Argos will send 5. A little bit of time, and now it closes again, but Crum's going to scramble and throw, dumping it off into the flat. It is caught by Milanovic Litre, and it will be a couple of yards shy of the first down. And we'll see if, well, it's no hesitation at all. Out comes Lewis Ward in the field goal unit.
I was watching Mason Pierce on that play. They had some cover 3 going on, and he had flats responsibility, but immediately diagnosed that there was nothing happening in the flats and no prospect of anything happening. And so he just stuck to his guy down the sideline. You like to see that from a new player, just a very smart, intelligent football play.
35-yard field goal attempt, 35 yards and 1 foot for the ever-steady Ward, who kicks it up and nails another one. So it's now 17-10, and the Red Blacks have a 7-point lead over the defending Grey Cup champs.
It doesn't feel like that somehow. This game has felt very much like Toronto's the better team, but it's just these big plays that they've been able to make. There's a few of them. 2 deep passes, one on a bust, one just on a really nice throw and catch, and then that really long run that we saw from Crum. It's those 3 plays, each one of those leading to a scoring drive, but they haven't actually been able to put a real drive together where they're hammering out first downs. And whereas that is sort of what Toronto's done. Toronto's walked the ball up the field the hard way, and Ottawa's just had some pretty nice luck taking advantage of some busts on Toronto's end. And you've got a 17-10 game, but there's not much question here, and there shouldn't be with Ottawa sending so many seconds and thirds out here. Toronto is the better team here, but that's not what the scoreboard says.
Give a tip of the hat here to our Argonaut members of the month for June. James Laws is our member of the month, our rookie member of the month for June, Kelly Adam, and our member of the game, Mike Van Trite. Congratulations to all, and thank you for being season ticket holders. We really appreciate that. And it is still not too late for membership. Have not played a home game yet. If you want to join the fun and get in on this 150th anniversary season, there are going to be some very memorable moments this year, and not just provided by the guys in the light blue here tonight. It's going to be a fun year to be an Argo fan. Starting on the 18th of June, it's the home opener. Hamilton Ticats in town. Those games are all going to mean a lot this year. And a chance to see the Grey Cup banner unfurled, and a chance to go home. If you're one of the first 10,000 people through the door, a Grey Cup replica ring. Well, that's a very, very good way to start the season. So, Argonauts.ca for tickets. Jake Julian tees it up. And David Ungerer is back, along with Hedel, it looks like. And it's going to be Jeremiah taking it at the 15-yard line. Far numbers out to the 30 with a burst of speed. And that's actually B.J. Bird, 87, not 82. And B.J. will take it out across the 40. Again, trying to establish that he can do more than just catch touchdown passes.
Yeah, and move with the ball in his hands. His first touchdown last week, it was such a subtle move that he made on the 5-yard line. It was a play that looked like he'd be tackled at about the 5. He caught the ball at the 5, went to the outside, and made the most subtle move where the Hamilton defender just fell on the ground, and he walked in for a touchdown.
Cameron Dukes back to pass, set up the screen. They've got Adebaboye, who gets hit in the backfield. Cameron Dukes last year in the indoor football league with the Vegas Nighthawks set 2 single-game records in back-to-back games. In one game, he had 315 yards, which in Arena League is kind of nutty. And then he threw for 8 touchdowns. Oh, is that all?
I like that play call for Dukes. The timing wasn't right, and Giffen didn't quite get to his block. That could have been a big one.
Second and about 14 after the loss, and now Dukes rolling again. He'll take off 45, sliding down at the 48, 5 yards shy of the first down, and we'll see John Haggerty and the punt unit come in for the second time.
He's going to kick himself when he watches this one in film tomorrow, because I know I said that you should slide as a quarterback, when it's down and distance is long and against you, but he had a lot of room to the right, and it's really easy for us to see it up here, much harder down there, but if he just cut out to the right, he might still be running.
Scarver will drop back to inside his own 15-yard line for the Aussie. John Haggerty, first-round pick in the 2022 Global Draft, number 4 overall. And this one headed to the near corner. It'll be outside the numbers, which is good, to the 11-yard line. Scarver will stutter step, look to the middle of the field, and get snowed under at the 22-yard line. So that's where the Red Blacks will take over. With 4:01 remaining here in the opening half, 17-10 our score. Red Blacks with the lead and the ball. Assess Chad Kelly for us, for those who are tuning in a little bit late, and his 3 series.
Chad Kelly looked great. He looked in control. He made some really nice throws, especially in that first drive that resulted in the Argos touchdown. He made a couple of questionable decisions later. He did throw into double coverage in the end zone, which could have been picked, and that would have taken away their field goal score. But again, like I said, I don't mind some of that from Chad Kelly. He's going to let his guys make plays. He's going to do things that coaches will sometimes get frustrated with, but that's the nature of having a gunslinger at quarterback, and I think you sort of live with that. You're going with a guy like Chad Kelly. You know you're going to see plays like that. But for as many of those you're going to see, you're also going to see amazing touchdown passes. And, yeah, he'll let his guys make plays.
Should update Shane Richards. He's on the trainer's table right now, as he injured his ankle on a rather freakish play earlier in this game, getting his ankle hooked up with Gregor McKellar's. It was a weird looking play, really strange, but he is still obviously favoring his left ankle. It's taped up.
You know, something that I didn't realize really until these last 2 preseason games is just how capable Adarius Pickett is in positions other than his cover linebacker spot. He's a great cover linebacker, one of the best in the league, but he's also been on almost every special teams unit that we've seen, and I was really only aware of him as a kickoff returner. On that last punt, he was playing gunner to the near side. He did a great job not only racing down the field and getting in position to make the tackle, but then rerouting the kick returner, and he forced him into a pretty moderate gain, but that was all Adarius Pickett, just physically outmatching his man as he raced down the sideline.
So Dustin Crum, who has looked nice in the battle for QB3, potentially, I guess, QB2, depending on the Masoli's situation. Ball at the 23-yard line. They'll go play action, and he wants to go long down the numbers, and it will be incomplete.
And guess who was back there?
Adarius Pickett.
Playing cover 2, deep half. And that's, again, to have all this athleticism. I'm really excited to see what Coach Mace decides to do with the linebacker combination of not only Enoch Mwamba and Wynton McManus. We'll add in Adarius Pickett to the linebacker conversation as sort of the Sam linebacker here. But add in Jordan Williams, too. You've got 4 guys that can do some really interesting stuff. And I've talked about Jordan Williams dropping into coverage. Well, there's Adarius Pickett doing that exact same thing, rolling into a cover 2.
And don't short sell Jonathan Jones when he has been in the game. He has been really good. Oh, pass to the near side. And it will be ruled a catch along the near sideline. And once again, that's Bray with the catch.
The Argos got a little bit lucky there. There was a wide open Ottawa receiver. I didn't quite see who it was. It was Deshaun Amos in coverage, and Amos did not see him early enough and was easily beat. That would have been a touchdown had the quarterback seen it. But again, that's the advantage of being able to generate some pressure up front. Nobody loves a good defensive line more than a defensive back.
Caleb Holden, who had a couple of flashy plays last week in Hamilton, if he had turned his head around a little earlier, may have grabbed that one. Quarterback sneak. It should be good for the first down. We'll see where they mark it. From where they're standing,
close.
It's a first down.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that should be a first down.
And it is. Thomas Zeri, our official tonight, and that's exactly at 3 minutes. So we'll take a quick timeout, catch our breath, and we'll come back with the last 3 minutes of the first half with the Red Blacks leading 17-10. You're watching the Argos live stream here on CFL.ca. Warning, 17-10, Red Blacks over the Argos. And if I may be so bold on behalf of the Argos organization, thank you so much to the University of Guelph and the City of Guelph for putting up with us for the last 3 weeks. We've had a blast here. The facilities here at the University of Guelph are second to none, not only in youth sports, but in the country. The workout facility, the weight room here is stunning. The coaches' facilities here, top notch. And to Ryan Sheehan and the coaching staff here at Guelph. Thanks for, letting us get in your way and giving up some of your facilities for 3 weeks. Very much appreciated, and the long-term deal signed in the off-season. Couldn't be happier. So thank you, Guelph, the university and the city. First down for the Red Blacks at their own 33. Argos show pressure from deep, and they'll get there, but it's a screen. Perfect call, and it is going to be Devontae Williams down the sideline with a flag. He's pushed out of bounds, but not until he gets across midfield to the Argo 54.
Yeah, like you said, that's the perfect call against the blitz, and they got really lucky with that one. Darius Pickett was sent off the edge, and to compensate for it, Caleb Holden was rolling from the other side, opening up all sorts of space, but this one's coming back.
So Emmanuel Butler's had a couple of nice catches, gets caught for the illegal block, and that's going to move it back to the 23-yard line, setting up a 1st and 20 with 2:42 left.
Are you surprised at all that so much of the starting secondary is still in there as we approach halftime?
No, what we saw last year early in the season were some blown coverages like we've seen tonight.
Right.
You think back to that fiasco out in BC last year and the number of busts there. This is just a coach wants to see his guys go. And here's a quick hit out to Bray, who will get close to the original line of scrimmage. But they'll have some work to do here.
And I would like to see a more of a form tackle there from Quantez Stiggers, who, again, made a great play in terms of getting there. But you're going to get little things like that from a guy who didn't get to play college football. He came in and basically body checked his man to the ground, and it worked, but it won't always. There are going to be receivers that are going to be able to absorb that or jump that.
Out to the far, numbers incomplete. Perhaps the closest man to the ball was Mason Pierce. And the Argos will get the ball back. 2:16 remaining here in the opening half. 7-point lead for the Red Blacks.
Two things I love. One is that Deontay McMahon is going back to punt return. We'll see how well he handles that. Yeah, all on his own. And the other one is that we're going to get a bit of a hurry-up situation, probably for Cameron Dukes.
Which is something that will make the Argo brass very happy because they'll get a chance to see him under the lights. Literally here at Guelph tonight. Lights are on. Punt is high. If it comes down, it will come down at the 20-yard line. It does, and McMahon goes down immediately at the 18.
Again, nowhere to go. Two Red-Black cover team members largely untouched on their way downfield. This was a problem for Toronto last year. For as many skilled guys as they had, punt returning and kick returning, they had a heck of a time keeping cover teams off them. And they made some changes in the offseason to address this, drafting and bringing in some free agents like Mario Villamazar, for example, who are really good at stuff like that. But on that play, there was just nothing for McMahon. It's too bad. I really want to see him with a little bit of space.
Really good tackle by Alonzo Adai there, who was so good at West Virginia. And here is Dukes, gets rid of a nice shoestring catch over here on the near side. And that was Cam Phillips, who was so good last year when he got an opportunity to crack the lineup for the Argos. Including his career-high 96 yards coming in, why not the Grey Cup game?
That's right. Argos had a flood concept on there, just trying to overwhelm the zone to one side. And Dukes ends up taking the shortest receiver there. 5-yard gain.
2nd and 5. There's an open man, and it's caught by Lonnie Moore, the fourth, for a first down out to the 35-yard line. And now they're ruling it no catch. So the official on the near side came up, marked the ball as it was caught, and then said no catch. And I think they're going to have a discussion here. From this angle, it looked like a good catch, but let's take a look at the replay.
It did for sure. We don't have the best view of it up here, but it looked like he caught the ball and then let it go, or it was ripped out of his hands sort of as he was going to get up.
Now, he was down. We can't see if the ball hit the ground when he was on the way down. It was a catch for sure. Did he maintain possession through the catch? And it looks like the answer is yes.
And that was nice communication there between the officials to sort that out and make what I think is the correct call.
Minute 41. Clock starts now. Dukes will go down. He's caught in the backfield, which is not what you want. Trey Hornbuckle got him, the second-year player out of Duke.
It looked like Dukes was waiting for Cam Phillips to sit. He ended up between two defenders as he crossed from one zone to another, and there was a really big gap for him there. But, it just wasn't to be. The pocket closed too quickly, and he didn't have time, and Phillips wasn't on the same page.
So second down and 15 to go from their own 30-yard line. Clock moving at a minute 20. Dukes wants to set up the screen. He's got Adeboboye with a stutter step. And he'll get close to the original line of scrimmage, but this will stop the clock for now with a minute 11 left. And the Red Blacks are going to get the ball back, leading by 7.
I think that was Paradis that didn't get out in front of the ball carrier there, and that just didn't have much chance for Adeboboye to make anything out of that. Ideally, you want your blockers in front of you on a screen pass, and he got ahead of everybody else.
Scarver's going to drop back for the Haggerty punt. Should mention Adam Guillemette, is the long snapper. A wobbler from Haggerty that will hit and bounce back. And that ball hit a Red-Black player, becoming a loose ball. But was there an Argo inside the halo?
Yeah, it's going to be a no yards call. A really unlucky one because the Red-Black player did not mean to touch the ball. And so they were just trying to scramble out of the way.
I was talking about Adam Guillemette, third-round draft pick, 27th overall, out of Holy Cross, and a local guy out of Cambridge, and a guy the Argos just love. Being in the war room, they really, really wanted to get him, and we're actually discussing him as a second-round pick, but their top-rated player, Jared Wayne, was still on the board, and even though he's in the NFL right now, they said, well, we better take him, and we hope that Guillemette's available in the next round, and it worked out perfectly. Ball at the 50-yard line. 44 seconds remaining here in the opening half. Out to the near side, missed a wide-open receiver. Ooh, that's one that Crum is going to wish he had back, looking for Scarver.
Going back to Guillemette for a minute, it takes a lot to. I'm not someone that gets very excited about long snappers typically, or holders on field goal teams.
Sure.
But yeah, watching Guillemette snap is something special. It's just one of those things. You see it sometimes in special team players, like the sound that a Boris Beattie kick makes, and with Guillemette, the same thing with his snap. Man, is it gorgeous. It's a laser.
Second down and 10 from their own 50. 39 seconds remaining. Crum will come to the near hash mark, and it is caught as he once again connects with Jaquan Bray. It will be short of the first down by a yard or so.
Toronto was just backing up in a really deep umbrella with everybody back. They were just determined not to get beat once again with the deep pass. And so Crum just takes what was there, but there's just not that much time left in the half here.
Third down, they need 2 feet, and we'll get it. First down, Ottawa. It'll stop the clock with 26 seconds remaining. And I guess they are in Lewis Ward range. And this might be the first time in 3 weeks there's no wind here at Guelph. A little bit of a breeze. There are some Argo flags flying in the end zone up on College Street. But the telltales are limp. Once again, there's the connection as Bray makes the catch from Crum, and will get maybe 3-4 yards. Where will they mark it? On the 45. So it's a gain of 4.
That was a really nice close by Deshaun Amos, who came flying in. He was nowhere near the ball originally.
Pressure from depth. They throw right where the pressure came from and will get the first down. Really nice read by Dustin Crum to beat the blitz, and he will hit Scarver for the first down.
Yeah, exactly what you said. It's one of the first things you teach quarterbacks when there's a blitz coming. Try and throw into it because they're a man short to that side. And that's exactly what happened. And now they're actually in decent field goal range for this attempt that will probably end the half.
It'll be 46.5 yards. 6 seconds remaining. Clock just starts. So this will, without there being a penalty, be the final play of the first half. You hear the siren hitting 0 here at Guelph. And we'll see what the right footer can do. Snaps a little high. Will that cause it to drift? Clean through. 3 more points as Ward hits the field goal on the final play to make it 20-10 as we hit the intermission. We'll take a little bit of a timeout. I think Ben Grant will be the halftime entertainment. He'll be juggling a bowling ball, a live chainsaw, and a live snake. It'll be very interesting, and we'll have that for you here at halftime. But we will come back with the third quarter as we have you stick around here for halftime. You're watching the stream of Argonaut football here on CFL.ca. So that's where we are and how we got there. And there is the opening kickoff to start the second half. Red Blacks will take it along the far sideline and across the 35 to the 40-yard line, and that's where the Argos will send out the defense. And let's see how many starters are going out there. Robbie Smith, Sam Achimpong is a regular, part of the rotation. Deontay Knight goes out there, Brandon Barlow. So we're seeing some of the guys start to filter onto the field now for the Argos defensively. Keith Washington, the second, comes out to the near corner on the field side. So it's a first down for the Red Blacks from their own 39-yard line, and they will go ground game. And it will be Devontae Williams going off tackle to the left side for about 4.
Qantas Stiggers has come out of the game, and they've now moved Caleb Holden over from the boundary halfback spot to play some corner. And that's a spot that they may be thinking a little bit more about for week 1. We don't know the status of Robert Priester and how that's going to work out. He was injured last week in Hamilton, and so they need to have more than just Qantas Stiggers as options for week 1.
Mason Pierce has moved in to play the boundary half spot, and I don't remember seeing him there. And there's almost an interception. It was broken on perfectly by Keith Washington, who couldn't bring it in. And Washington is another one of those guys who's looked good in camp. And this is another one of those numbers games that's going to be impossible for the coaching staff and front office to figure out who stays and who goes, as Pierce will drop back to return this punt.
Yeah, that was a beautiful read from Washington. He's a player I like a lot as well. And I think with a lot of these guys, some of these guys that are cut from the Argos team are going to end up on other rosters.
Oh, no question. No question.
Yeah, there's going to be a number of them.
There's Julian in for the punt. Another high kick. It'll corkscrew down and hit it about the 31 and go right out of bounds. Perfect kick. No return. And the Argos will start at the 31 as we spin the quarterback. And it is indeed Brian Scott coming out, finishing up the first half.
Brian Scott played really nicely last week, and I thought he had an intelligent outing. He made good reads, made smart decisions, threw with accuracy, and the stats showed that too. He wasn't it wasn't the chaos that we saw from Cameron Dukes, and I know Dukes ended up with some really good numbers too, but it's just a really different style.
And he'll drop back on first down under a 4-man rush, get flushed out of the pocket, rolling to his right, going downfield. He's got a man deep, coming back for the football and not able to pull it down was Cam Phillips.
That was
so
a bit of
second and 10.
Bit of a broken play. You had receivers really crowded together. The spacing wasn't right. And as Scott escaped the pocket, you had a couple receivers break free. Scott just didn't get enough on the football. He had Phillips if he wanted to air it out deep, but it was underthrown. Phillips had to try and come back for the ball, and he couldn't quite make a play.
Brian Scott leading the USFL in passing yards and touchdowns when he was injured. Meanwhile, over in the XFL, Cam Phillips a couple of years ago was that league's leading receiver, yards, catches, and touchdowns. On second down, the little dump play. And that is out of Baboye with a nice little stutter step that will get him enough yards for the first down. Out to the 41.
Nice to see Adebaboye get involved like that and make a nice play. Richard Burton was wide open on that play, except first reads were all to the right side, and Scott never had even an opportunity to see him, but there was a bust in coverage for the Red Blacks as Burton got free on a corner route, and no one was nearby.
And Burton, an Ottawa native, went to Queens, was an all-star there. Draft pick this year by the Argos. 3 receivers near side on 1st and 10, and they will give the ball to Adebaboye, who gets met at the line of scrimmage. Very noticeable this year, the patience of Adebaboye as opposed to a year ago when, as a rookie in training camp, whenever he got the ball, he would hit the hole at 600 miles an hour, full speed all the time. He's developed that little patience, and I think playing behind a guy like Andrew Harris, who is the most patient running back that I can think of in the league, maybe over the last couple of decades, he's just, he's played so much, he just waits for the block and then explodes. And I think what a mentor for Dan Adebaboye, who's got the skills, just needs the experience. Scott now near side, had a man, and it's caught by Moore. Lonnie Moore in tight coverage. Looked like the coverage was going to close in time, and now they're going to rule it incomplete. a late call from the deep official. And Moore is claiming he has it, and we'll see if Ryan Dinwiddie's going to throw something. Although I don't think the replay is in effect tonight, to be honest.
Oh, they just aren't the camera angles. And
Caught.
it did look like a catch from here, but you could tell the way the referee came running in.
There's the ball. Yep, good call.
Yeah, no, he's right. He definitely saw it hit the ground. You don't, as an official, come running with that kind of authority unless you saw clearly the ball hit the ground.
He just couldn't get the left hand underneath it. Had it with the right one. As now Hoyt comes on late. Speaking of Ottawa natives, from Gatineau, actually, across the river. Played at Carleton. Astrophysics is a major. And there's the kick. It's got Shoes actually in to do the punting. A low returnable kick that will be returned. And it has been Bray, who's had a nice night as a receiver, making the play as a returner. So it will be Ottawa taking over.
Yeah, that was a dangerous punt. You never a punt like that with no hang time whatsoever. It didn't have a lot of depth to it, but it never got any height, and there was all sorts of room. Really nice job by the Argos cover team, closing space and preventing what could have been a big return. And we saw that last week on a punt that actually did travel a long way. It was a 59-yarder from Haggerty last week, but it just didn't have the height that he usually gets on the play, and it was taking the distance. Toronto's a little bit lucky maybe there that this one didn't go back the other way, but you also have to give credit to their cover team.
This is a look behind the camera here as we describe a little bit how the sausage is made. I can't find the light switch.
It is getting dark in here.
It's getting a little dark, and I can't find the light switch in the booth. It's not outside. Luckily, we have. Oh, somebody just turned them on. Look at that. I'm powerful, dude. Just as I was talking about that, somebody turned on the lights.
I was wondering I didn't know what you were looking for.
Yeah, they all came on at the same time in the press box, so there must be one master switch.
I actually thought you were chasing a bee, to be honest, at first. You were looking all over the place behind me and in front of me, and then you went out the door for a little while, and it was just me in here. And
what I like is these are really long headset cords, so I could basically go down to the other end of the booth and back. This is cool, the press box here at Alumni Stadium. That's Ben Grant. He is from X's and Argos, the podcast. My name is Mike Hogan. I've done this for a couple of years with the Argos, and I'm lucky enough to work for the organization now as a communications manager after at least a year in radio. So, yeah, we're going to have some fun. And hopefully you are as well watching the stream tonight. Butler was having some fun out there for the Red Blacks, dancing a little bit as they face a first down and 10 now. It is 20-10 for the RBs with inside 11 minutes remaining here in quarter three. And it's Dustin Crum still in at quarterback. And they run some play action, and that is not going to work. He's going to be brought down after a gain of about 1 yard, as getting some penetration in there was Tyree Johnson, who all he had to do as a college player at Texas A&M was show his game against Alabama, where he was just insanely good. A couple of sacks, a couple of tackles for loss, second team All-SEC. And I was pretty excited when they signed him. I thought, okay, let's see what he can do. But there are so many guys on the front four. Two Argos jumped there, free play, or were they drawn? Offside is going to be the call against Toronto.
Yeah, I think they made contact there when they jumped offside, so the officials had to blow that one dead. You see the strength that Johnson has there on that last play. He didn't just shed his block. He threw his block away and then made the play.
And he was the guilty party. A couple of Argos jumped. The interior Argo may have jumped because they saw Tyree Johnson upfield. He's lined up as a right defensive end. Looks over on the other side, Casey Williams, another first-year Argo out of Stony Brook, who is quite the athlete. Tip ball at the line of scrimmage. Luckily for Ottawa, that hit the canvas. And it will be the punt return team coming out. Casey Williams in a Philadelphia high school all-star game. And you think guys aren't going to play the full game, right? 15 tackles, and he scored 2 rushing touchdowns. And they love what he's doing on special teams up here so far because he is so athletic as a D lineman playing the edge here. So now the Argos will receive the punt from Jake Julian, who is shown that he has the capability of launching some high punts like that one. And it is Bird underneath it at the 25-yard line with a flag down. He's up the numbers to 50. One man to beat. 50, he's gone. There is a flag on the play, and he is going to score another touchdown in the preseason for the Argos. The Bird has flown into the end zone, and the Argos are back in this one, depending on the laundry.
I think this is going to be no yards.
It is. It's declined. And B.J. Bird with his third touchdown in 2 preseason games. That was electric.
Yeah, no kidding. It just opened up in front of him. Again, it was really well blocked by the Argos. And on a punt that had so much hang time, it's rare to take a punt like that back the distance. But it wasn't all the blocking. They created the original gap, and he flew through it. But then he had to break a couple tackles and actually use his strength to pull through that last little arm that got on him as he broke free and made his way into the end zone. That was electric.
So Gachuz will come in. Snap and hold are good. Yahtzee, he got it. And it is 20-17 as the Argos are now within a field goal. And that was an example right there, and it kind of caught me off guard how fast that snap was by Guillemette.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. It's lightning. It takes a while for the holder. I'd like to actually talk to John Haggerty about what that's like, because it's nothing against Max Latour, who was the long snapper last year after the Jake Reinhardt injury. But there was just such a difference from watching that for half a season and then seeing Guillemette come in and just rocket it back there. It caught me off guard. I can only imagine what Haggerty was thinking.
It's like going from a starting pitcher who's, an above-average starting pitcher who's throwing 96, and then the closer come in and it's 99 to 100. They were actually working on that on the second day of camp because Haggerty was having John Haggerty, the holder, was having some problems with the velocity. So what they did is they just moved it like 6 inches off to one side. So it's now not a straight snap. It's just a little bit off. Not much. Like, just if you were watching, you wouldn't notice it. And it might have been mental more than anything else for Haggerty. But now it's not a problem for either BD or Gachuz, as we're seeing here tonight. But yeah, he's got a gift. And I did see online there were a lot of people saying, why would you take a long snapper in the third round? If you think, and the Argos do, that this can be the next Jake Reinhardt, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I absolutely would. I had him graded very high in my own draft board. He was someone that I actually was hoping the Argos could get in the third round, but I didn't know if it was a guarantee. And, as the pick got closer and closer, it looked like it might happen. And, yeah, they made the call to draft a long snapper. And like you say, you're in the third round to take somebody who may be with the organization for a long time, as long snappers typically are. They don't tend to bounce around like you see a lot of other players in professional football. Long snappers tend to find a home and stay there. He'd be a guy that Toronto would be very happy to have for a long time.
And he would be happy to be here. He's from Cambridge and grew up as an Argo fan.
Perfect.
Ricky Ray said his first pro game was at, the old Dome, watching the Argos. So he was tickled pink when the Argos did select him, where he hoped that he would be picked. As now the return as the counterpunch from Tuggle. Great return out to the 49-yard line. So Ottawa will have really nice field position here. 20-17 Argos, 8:39 remaining in the third quarter.
That looked like trouble right after the kickoff, because you like to see your kickoff team come down in one solid wave. And this is a group that probably hasn't had too many reps together. They're putting pieces together. We've seen guys run on the field late for special teams as they have so many moving parts on a day like today with such large rosters. That coverage team came down very staggered. There were all sorts of gaps. Again, lucky it didn't go the distance.
Dustin Crum still in at quarterback for the Red Blacks, starting at his own 50-yard line. Deep drop, goes long, down the numbers, going into the middle, tight coverage, but 1, 2, 3 flags are thrown. So I think we're going to see some pass interference here, as there were a couple of players in coverage. Probably this will be against Mason Pierce. It is.
Yeah, Mason Pierce wasn't badly beat, and he was actually going to be able to catch up to this play, but it's so hard on full run. He couldn't quite find the ball in the air, never really got a chance to look for it, and so he just guessed and made early contact. There's not much question about that.
Got the right arm in there as well. It was an easy call, as evidenced by the amount of little yellow hankies on the field. 3 of them got it. He's an interesting duck, Mason Pierce. He was not only all-conference as a defensive back, but also as a returner. As mentioned, from the Colorado School of Mines. I admit I do not remember hearing of that school beforehand, although there have probably been more than a handful of players who have come through the program.
I think they're called the Ore Diggers. Does that sound right to you? I think it is the Colorado School of Mine Ore Diggers, or something like that. They're known just generally as mines. That's how they're referred to. But yeah, again, a really neat story, and a school that does not offer a lot of basket weaving. They have some very serious courses because you're going there basically to be a mining engineer, I guess. Sure. I don't think they have a lot of options. It's just all STEM-based majors.
So the ball's at the 9-yard line after the PI call. Just inside 8 minutes remaining. Argo's down by a field goal. We're here in the third quarter at Guelph Stadium, Alumni Stadium in Guelph, on the campus of the University of Guelph. And they'll put it over on the left hash mark after the penalty. Williams is now back in at the back. He'll flood out to the near side and catch the football. Nice move inside the 5. And he'll take it down to about the 2-yard line. And once again, Casey Williams showing the athleticism with the tackle.
And looked to me like Tiggy Sanko was the one who rerouted that. He came in there pretty quickly and was able to turn that back inside, because if that play gets to the outside, I think he's in the end zone.
I would assume if Ottawa doesn't get the touchdown here, they're pretty confident knowing what Lewis Ward can do as a kicker. This would be 3-down territory.
Yeah.
Regardless of the score, it's an opportunity to work the offense. Devontae Williams is in the backfield. Crum will go play action and find a man in the end zone for the touchdown. And that looked pretty simple. Willie Pierre Dimbongi. Hope I got that one right. No, check that. That's Keaton Brugling from Carleton who had the touchdown.
Yeah, Ottawa going double tight there, really selling run, and it's hard play action. You've got a quick sort of glance route. It's pretty hard to defend that when you're that close to the end zone. And yet another Ottawa scoring drive that comes off a big play. This time a penalty, but it was a penalty that was worth 60 yards, and so we've now got all 3 Ottawa touchdowns coming off of a giant play, and then them following it up.
And Lewis Ward out for the conversion. Snap and hold are good. Kick is up, has the leg, and right down Main Street. And it is 27-17 for Ottawa now with 6:43 remaining in quarter number 3. And not only the big penalty, obviously, which made it really manageable for Ottawa, but a really good return to set it up.
Yeah, no, it was a couple of big plays, and again, the return was just not a really disciplined play from the Toronto Argonauts with so many different pieces on that kickoff coverage team. But yeah, it's an unfortunate penalty for Mason Pierce, and he's gonna cringe watching that in film.
A lot of comments about the Argo jerseys. If you'd like a replica or some of the new gear that is in, head to argonauts.ca online, and you will see a very nice icon that says shop. And if you click on shop, your world will explode. Your head will just go, whoa, because you will see all this spectacular new gear. And we hope to see you all geared up down at BMO Field for the opener on June 18th. First 10,000 through the gate, get a replica ring, and we get to see the newest banner, the 18th Grey Cup banner. No other team has that many. And it was nice to add to it on a we'll add to it officially on June 18th, but to get the win in frosty Regina last November in one of, it turned out really well, and I'm sure Winnipeg fans watching the stream are going, no, it wasn't that good a game. I think it was your partner, JB, who said the fourth quarter was drunk.
Yeah.
And I have used that quote often, and it couldn't be, and I have credited him every time. It was a perfect way to describe a game that had, 2 blocked field goals, 2 interceptions, a record-setting punt return. It looked like a game-clinching sack that was replaced. A backup quarterback comes in on a 2nd and 15 and converts. Like, it was nuts. It was a crazy football game.
Back-to-back blocked field goals alone to end the game would have been a classic finish. But you add all that other stuff in, it was an epic Grey Cup game.
Waiting for the kickoff now. It is deep. And it is that Moore with the ball as we try to pick up the number? It is flagged down as Lonnie Moore will take it up close to midfield, actually across midfield. But from where that was thrown, one would assume it's coming back. And we will hear from Thomas Cesare, who is the official tonight. And that's Enoch Penny-Lawyer, second-year player out of McMaster.
That doesn't necessarily hurt Moore in terms of his film and his evaluation. You know, he doesn't get the stat for it, but the coaching staff's obviously able to see what he can do with the ball in his hands. So there have been some nice returns tonight and some nice special teams play, and he's going to be in the mix of guys fighting for an American receiver spot, and he's got a hill to climb because of what B.J. Bird has done over the last 2 weeks. Like, how can you not keep B.J. Bird on the team? He has 3 touchdowns in 2 preseason games and has been on fire tonight as a returner, last week as a receiver.
Brian Scott still in at quarterback, and we'll hit a quick out here for Haydel. And he will take it out to close to the 30-yard line, gain of 11 on a first down.
Nice accuracy from Scott. He just had a tiny window, sort of guided it in. It looked like he was almost using the force after he released that, just to try and weave that football right into his receiver's arms, because there wasn't a lot of space there.
Adam Goss, the in-house announcer, is in mid-season form.
Always.
First down at the 29-yard line. 3 receivers to the top, and they will go that way to the 35-yard line. Is that Unger with the catch? It is, and that is good for about 8 yards, so it'll be second and very manageable.
Nice arm strength from Scott. That's a really long throw to the wide side of the field from this hash. And, you know, dropping back, he knew he was going to it right away because coverage dropped off. There was all sorts of cushion out there on top of Unger from James, and it's a scary throw because you're throwing that ball some 40 yards for a short gain, and you've got to be sure, because if you're not, that's going back the other way for 6.
Second and a yard and a foot. So we'll go 4 feet for the first down, and they're going to throw. Scott has a man at the numbers. Oh, that was almost picked off. Oh, boy. Lucas Cormier, the high draft pick of the Red Blacks this year, jumped it and is not going to like when he sees the replay because he had nothing in front of him.
Yeah, and this is a similar kind of throw, not nearly the distance, but going to the outside like that, you can't make that throw. If there's a chance for the coverage to jump in front of the ball like that, the Argos are really lucky that they're not down an additional 7 points right now.
And the great throw followed by the throw to basically the same spot on the field.
Yeah.
High punt by Lozada, or by Choose Lozada, sorry. Wants to go by just the last name. And the return goes over the 35-yard line with a flag down. 4:53 remaining in quarter number 3. Red Blacks have a 27-17 lead. Argos have touchdowns tonight from A.J. Ouellette on the first drive of the game on a short run, and then B.J. Bird with the long punt return for the touchdown. And the flag will go against Ottawa, so they'll move it back to the 22-yard line.
Argos have definitely started to roll in pretty much everyone they want to see. You're seeing new players come out every time the offense or defense takes the field. And guys are shuffling around. This is going to be tough, especially in the secondary, if they started to move some pieces here, because we talked earlier about how difficult it is playing zone coverage when you're not familiar with the guy next to you. That's why you tend to see boundary pairings, field pairings stick together for so long on CFL defensive units. And here they've got guys they're playing next to that they've not just only been together with for 2 weeks, but they may not have even had that many snaps in these pairings, because It's not like they're taking a full defensive team and saying, all right, second group, you guys are up. They're replacing one player at a time. So it's going to be tough for the Argos to make sure they really nail down their zone coverage, especially.
Michael Pizzuto's out there from the University of Ottawa. Tyler Williams, who looks like a defensive tackle. He looks like a nose tackle. He's 6'2", but 295. Like, he's in a thick body. Like, he looks like a defensive tackle. And that's where they've got him. Casey Williams is still out there. Tiggy Sanko is out now as the field halfback. He's been out there for most of this quarter.
JT Hassel is out there as a cover linebacker. It's kind of interesting. He was with Winnipeg briefly last season, playing behind Dietrich Nickel. And Dietrich Nickel's, you're not going to learn much more playing behind a guy than him. He's maybe the best defensive back in the league. But I think the Argos are correct in putting him at cover linebacker. That's where he started his university career. And I think he feels pretty comfortable in that spot.
And ground game. Oh, good penetration, followed up by good penetration. And the Argos will end up losing, forcing the Red Blacks to lose a couple of yards. JT Hassel, also an interesting story, playing in the NFL at the time, still playing football, born without full two fingers. A stub, I believe it's the thumb and the pinky. So he's doesn't have two full hands and still is able to play professional football. It's quite a story.
Yeah, for sure. And he was the first guy in on that play, him flying in. They've sent him a couple times on blitzes, and he's just got a real instinct for it. I think it was that South Dakota where he started his university career where you saw him do that a lot.
Argos jumped, so this is a freebie. And rolling out his Crum, and he's going to run for the first down, it looks like, stepping out of bounds at the 36-yard line. And we'll see if this is offside again against the Argos. It is Casey Williams, the guilty party, who signed here last November, officially signed the day before Grey Cup. It never stops for the front office staff, for Pinball and Vince Magri and Alex Russell. They just keep going. Jim Barker, part of that last year, now back to being TV pretty boy over at TSN. Pressure from depth as they send Pierce, and they run right where he came from. Again, they find the right spot, and Devontae Williams will take it across the 40 to the 43.
That was the only place in the Argos defensive line Ottawa could have run. There was pressure from absolutely everywhere else. I think every single Argo D lineman beat their block on that, and Ottawa just got lucky. They rolled the right number.
Or give credit to Williams for picking the right hole.
Yeah, it didn't look like he had much of a choice. It didn't seem to be a read. It was just, that's where I got to run.
Second down and 2 yards to go. They'll go ground game again to Williams, and he'll have it. He'll get across the 45 to the 46. With 3 minutes exactly remaining in quarter three, it's 27-17 for the Red Blacks.
Ottawa got a pretty good push there. You can see the real difference between the first unit Toronto sent out at the beginning of the game and where there was no push at all from Ottawa to the players they've got out there now. It's just not the same caliber that they've got on the field in the third quarter.
And it looked like they wanted to go long again. Not going to happen. And it's going to be Crum getting across his own 50 to the 52, about halfway to the first down.
It looked like Crum was going to make that throw, and then he looked up and saw Edouard closing space. That would have been a pick had he actually let go of that ball. He was closing really fast and made the sensible decision to tuck it and keep it.
From Rider fan, former Rider and Lion quarterback Isaac Harker played for Colorado School of Mines. Thank you. That's awesome. See, I knew. CFL fans are the best. There's a completion for the first down to about the 51-yard line. I'll call it the 52. Nonetheless, it's a first down. As the touchdown maker, Bregelling makes the catch.
The best thing about CFL fans, I think, is that there are true fans of the league. I got a comment yesterday about somebody listening to the X's and Argos podcast who is a diehard Hamilton Tiger Cats fan. Ew. And they said, I know, but they're out there. Mm-hmm. And they just commented on the fact that they were listening to the podcast and they really enjoyed it, even though they didn't care for the team we were talking about. They were cheering for a nice podcast made about another team in the CFL, the league they love.
And it is a great podcast. I'm not just saying that because you're standing 2 feet to my right, but It is very, very well done. Devontae Williams with another carry for another 4 yards. Who came up with the name, by the way? It's brilliant. It's a really great name.
That was me. X's and Argos. I was trying to think of. I don't know. I like silly puns, and you're always talking about X's and O's, and that's part of football. Sure. And I was thinking about it. Was actually the logo came to me before the name did, because I was seeing the O in Argos, and I was thinking, O's, X's and O's, and then X's and Argos. It just seemed to make sense.
2nd down and 6 from the 48. Crum back to pass. Under pressure, gets rid of the football, gets walked. And it is almost picked off on the far sideline, as closing the gap rather quickly was Isaiah King, who's had an up and down night tonight, but made a nice play on that one.
Yeah, Williams with pressure up the middle. I don't know if that was by design or if the defensive line was just getting set late, but it makes it very tough. I know some teams actually play like that intentionally, where they don't really get set in their stance, and as an offensive lineman, it's really tough to communicate late during the cadence who you're picking up, and Ottawa was unable to do that there. 2 guys flying through, and their quarterback taking a big hit.
So Jake Julian will come in, and he has unleashed some high kicks, and there's that end-over-end rugby-style kick that will come down at the 10-yard line with an 0 yards flag out. So the Argos will push that out to about the 25-yard line. It's tough to celebrate the tackle when you know you've just gotten the 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, and he's the guy that got the flag, too, so.
Here's the call.
No yards. Ottawa, number 38. The 15-yard penalty. First down, front.
So they're not going to be in the shadow of their own end zone after this, have a little bit of breathing room. But the Argos need to put up some points if they want to come back in this game. It's still unbelievable to me that they're down 10 points. But, yeah, we're just about headed to the 4th quarter, and they've got some work to do.
8 seconds remaining in the 3rd quarter. Just got a nice shout-out, private message on Twitter from a former Argo. Glad to see he's doing well. I'll give you the name in a minute. Bring a smile to your face for sure. And here's Adeboboye with a nice run. Is that Adeboboye? No, that's Javon Leake with the run up the middle. Gets 9 yards. Running behind center, which is where Dominic Picard played. Dom saying he's watching the game tonight. Nice to hear. He has stayed in coaching, which is great. He's working with kids and has worked at different levels since retiring from the game. Dom is like one of those perfect offensive linemen that you love, especially as a coach, because he's like the mild-mannered guy off the field, and then was just that guy that you hated to play against if you were playing against the Argos on any given night, and then went out and won a Grey Cup with Saskatchewan in 2013. So thanks, Dom. Great to hear from you, pal. Actually, I think the last time I saw him was here, last year in training camp. I don't think I saw him last year. Great player. Just a great player. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back with the 4th quarter. 27-17. Argos trailing as we head to the 4th quarter. There we go. The A-team entertaining the crowd here at Alumni Stadium at the University of Guelph. Mike Hogan and Ben Grant with you here for the 4th quarter. And the Argonauts have Cameron Dukes back on the field at quarterback.
I thought for sure we would see Ben Holmes up next. We're into the 4th quarter here. I know Holmes got a lot of playing time last week, but it was against a lot of Hamilton ones.
And on 2nd down and a yard, they will fall forward for a yard and a half and get the 1st down as we officially start the 4th quarter.
And then my second thought was, well, maybe they just sent in Dukes for that quarterback sneak because that's obviously within his skill set. But no, he's going to stay out there and play a few more snaps at least.
Now, we did see Holmes warming up before the second half, so it's not an injury thing, I wouldn't think. Scott is on the sideline. He's got his helmet off. Whether or not that means he's done for the night, we're not sure. But it will be Dukes dropping back and looking, and it is incomplete. Out around midfield. Get a little discussion going on back at the quarterback as Dukes was hit as he threw, and it will set up a second down and 10 as he was looking for, I believe, Richard Burton.
Yeah, he hung on to that ball for a long time, and he just had a tiny window to throw it into, but he paid the price for waiting so long. Couldn't connect on the throw and took a hit.
And it was actually Keon Williams, the intended receiver. And that's not going to get off in time. That one actually may have been on the center, as everybody seemed to be moving, but the ball didn't come out. And they're going to call Ralph Singleton, first-year Argo.
It's tougher to hide when you're a tackle on the edge there, and so they're not going to call the guard. Always going to pick on the tackle. He did get out of his stance, but I think you're right. I think that was a snap count issue with the center.
He's in his first year up here from Valdosta State. Signed back in April. Second down, 15 to go after the penalty. And coming to the slot, and he has a man for the first down, and why not throw to the hot man? B.J. Bird will take it down to the 50-yard line. It's a gain of 24 and a first down.
This is a throw. There is no space to throw this ball. And he just zipped it in there to Bird, and then Bird did the rest, made another nice move, got an extra 10 yards out of that. What a play.
Now we get another flag. It was Cormier who almost had that. And Ralph Singleton again. When you're in an uphill battle looking for a job, it's not so good.
No, and I don't think that first one is his fault necessarily, but it's still his number called, and it doesn't help matters when you repeat that a play later.
So they'll put it in play. First down from the midfield stripe. Argos trailing by 10. And play action. And another great catch. That's B.J. Bird again with the catch at the 48-yard line. Another 7 yards on his resume.
Yeah, this is kind of a neat play design. You've got run action going the opposite way. They changed the strength of the formation coming to this side, and it was a pretty tough throw. There were options there for Dukes. He threw it behind Bird, and Bird somehow got his hands out and caught the back of the football. He's done everything right these last 2 weeks.
Good coverage again by Damon Webb that time out of Ohio State. And there's another dump pass over the middle, and what a move for Javon Leake, who will take it out of the 26-yard line. There is a late flag in the backfield, but Javon Leake showing off what he can do.
Yeah, that was a play out of nothing.
Back.
That's too bad for the Argos because that was a really nice play, individual play from Leake.
You can tell Javon Leake. Oh, it is against Ottawa. All of the Argos were walking back toward the line of scrimmage, so I thought the play was there. But Javon Leake, it's interesting. And there you saw it there. You can tell Javon Leake is feeling it when the knees go up. He's a high stepper. When he is really in that groove, you can tell. And you saw a little bit of that there.
A little pushing and shoving, I think, after that play. And I think the Argos thought they may have been called for that. And maybe they thought that's what the flag was for. But, yeah, great play from Leake.
Dukes looking for Leake. It's not there, and he's going to take off up the middle and get to the 10, spin off one tackle, showing his strength, and taking it down to the 10-yard line for a gain of 3.
Yeah, he looked initially to Leake, and that was a sensible decision not to throw it out there because Leake was blanketed, and that's another one of those passes that would have come back the other way had Dukes decided to throw it wide into the flats. He had to take it there. Again, you don't like to see your quarterbacks take hits, but that was really all there was on that play if he wasn't going to get it out to Leake.
Ball right smack dab in the middle of the field on the 10-yard line. Second down. They need 7 for the first down, 10 for the score. 3 receivers near side. They're going to look left and have the man tipped and almost picked. as once again, why not look for B.J. Bird, and he almost made the catch. Then again, it was almost picked off.
Yeah, Bird elevated there. He actually needed a little bit more height on that ball. Bird jumped up for it. The defender's back was turned to it. I think that was Cormier
It was Cormier again, yeah.
And if that ball's a little higher, Bird makes that play pretty easily because Cormier is not even looking. But where it came down, it basically was hitting Cormier in the back of the helmet. It's just a much tougher ball to catch.
DeAndre Lamont almost had the tip. Argos with a late substitution here. Edouard Paradis will come in. 5th-round draft pick this year from the Argos. This will be a 17-yard little pooch. It's up. It's good. And Gachuz has the field goal. His second of the night. And it's now a one-score game at 27-20. And you would think, why wouldn't you go for the offensive play in that situation? I think Dinwiddie is putting some stress on winning this game. Get them in that positive frame, getting ready for Hamilton, especially with a week off.
Yeah, and it's hard to turn that off as a coach, and I think Dinwiddie's a very competitive guy. I think you kind of have to be
Sure.
a head coach and to be, he was a quarterback in this league as well. And once you get out here, too, no matter what the plan may have been, once you get out here on the field and you start getting into a close game, you're in the fourth quarter, you're playing against an East opponent like this, It is really tough to say, yeah, let's just go through the motions and see some plays, evaluate some more players. You want to win this football game. And like you said, you start with a bye. It's not a good taste going into a season with back-to-back preseason losses and then sit for a week and wait. So, yeah, you bet they want to get out of here with a win. And I see Ben Holmes has been throwing again on the sideline. Maybe we see him on the next drive, and I don't think there's anybody that wants to get out there on the field more than Ben Holmes after his outing last week, which just wasn't indicative of how well he can play. We've seen him at practice over the last year plus, and you've seen his tape and what he can do. He's a good quarterback, and he just didn't look it last week. So he wants to redeem himself, you can bet, and what better way than leading your team back from a touchdown down in the fourth quarter.
And to show you how rare the interceptions are, and again, it's at a different level. Like, they just don't jump on me immediately. But at Tarleton State, 62 career touchdown passes, 9 interceptions. So when you're above a 6 to almost a 7-to-1 ratio, that ain't bad. So to see him throw 2 in the same game, not expecting that one. So he would love a little bounce back here at Guelph tonight. First down at the 40-yard line. And, Argos mistimed that one. That's another offside. And I can bet you that Corey Mace is not going to be happy. J.T. Hassel jumped it again.
Yeah, they've sent him a lot like we were talking about earlier.
Did he get drawn? I think he got drawn. They're moving it back. Offside Toronto. So why do they move the ball back to, there we go.
A little confusion.
It's preseason for everybody.
Outside Toronto. That penalty be declined. Second down.
So they'll take the 9-yard gain instead. It'll set up second and short from their own 49-yard line. Argos down by 7 with just inside 11 minutes left. Here comes a quarterback sneak because there's nobody in the backfield. And a flag comes down again. That was short of the first down. So Ottawa did not move the sticks, but didn't look like there was a whole lot of room between the two lines.
No, it didn't at all. This looked like an NFL snap. I don't even know if there was half a yard distance there, so I think this is going to be offside.
And it is.
Outside Toronto. The defensive line.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, Thomas Azeri. The entire line was offside.
They were.
And they were. That ball was snapped at the 50-yard line. We're on the 49. So we got a very good look at that, and it was kind of, okay, they're going to throw the flag here, and did. First down, they'll mark it at the Ottawa 54-yard line. To those watching from the United States, yes, there is a 54-yard line. And on first down, there's the running play that will get about 7 or 8 yards.
As the only Canadian on that line, it's got to be Benoit Marion's job to get them all back on that offside. But 3 Americans out there were lining up like it was an American quarterback sneak.
Polk, the runner there from the University of Ottawa. They've done their work. They've got a few former GGs and Ravens on the roster.
Yep.
Second down and short. And now first down, Ottawa, as the running game goes right up the A-gap. And it will be a first down. Mike Pizzuto, another University of Ottawa player, this time with the Argos, makes the tackle at the second level.
I think the Argos are starting to realize the urgency here as Ottawa gets closer and closer to field goal range. They sense some more heat there, and you haven't seen a ton of blitzes up the middle tonight.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the last couple plays.
Again, a flinch on the line of scrimmage. No flag. They'll dump it out of the backfield. This is Polk, who will take it down, and a very late flag comes down. I mean, Polk was at like the 30-yard line, and the flag came out. And the Red Blacks are saying this is against the Argos as well, as it was Pizzuto in the backfield. And indeed it is Pizzuto. 8th round pick in 2022. Went back to school. In a playoff game last year against Windsor, had 5.5 tackles, a sack, and a tackle and a tackle for loss and a half. 1.5 tackles for loss. So he's a guy who knows to get around the football. A little late on that one, though, and it's a first down inside the 15-yard line for the Red Blacks, who are up by 7 points. 9 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. 3 receivers up top. Running game again. Nice kick out, and down to the 6-yard line goes Polk again.
Yeah, that's something that can't happen. They had Holden coming off the edge there, and he allowed the runner to get around him to the outside. You can't make that miss. If you're sending heat off the edge and you're running to that side, you can't let him by because you're short. You're short defenders to that side of the field. It ended up being a much bigger gain than it should have been. There's nothing more frustrating as a coach when you're sending heat to the very spot they're running and they still succeed.
Second and a deuce from the 5-yard line. Couple of backs in for Ottawa right now, and they'll go play action. The receiver fell down, or did he get pushed? With 2 flags coming out, I assume it's the latter. There was some contact in the end zone. Couldn't tell if it was inadvertent or if it was indeed a push. And it's going to be against the Argos. And it looks like Tiggy Sanko is the most upset Argo.
I think Kwamu was also upset because he was the one that made the play in the backfield.
And indeed, it's Tiggy Sanko.
They're just playing with frustration here.
Ooh. That was interesting. Did he trip him?
It didn't.
Because it didn't look like there was contact.
Yeah,
he put his arm up like the official putting up the gates on the sideline. But there was contact, and they deemed it worthy of a penalty.
And Coach Dinwiddie is having a few words with the officials here. He's thrown his red flag out, but again, I think they're just going to.
Toronto was challenged the previous play for illegal blocking downfield. They will review the play.
Illegal blocking downfield.
So I guess Coach Dinwiddie.
I'm confused right now.
Yeah, well, and
Are they saying it was offensive interference, I guess, at another part of the field?
This whole play is a little bit odd because I didn't even see the penalty in the first
There's
place.
Sanko up top, and there was obviously contact. The receiver went flying, but Tiggy has hands out.
And the thing is, remember that there's no thrown pass on this, right? And so
that too.
There's not much of this I understand. If you're not going to, if the quarterback doesn't throw a pass, it's hard to get a penalty for illegally blocking downfield.
Or were they just looking again at the contact in the end zone by Sanko? It was an interesting. It's his 3rd year up here. He was the first pick, 3rd overall, first-round pick by the Argos in the global draft. He was part of that NFL International Player Pathway Program. So he spent a couple of years with the Cleveland Browns, and then the Argos selected him in the draft. And let's find out what the call is or isn't.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Toronto will be charged a timeout. First down for Ottawa.
And I think Coach Dinwiddie's frustrated with the penalty call. I think that's probably what this stems from. But it is a bit of a rough one. Like Tiggy Sanko looked like he was just standing there, and the receiver tripped over his foot. But I think probably from the vantage point of the sideline official, it probably did look like a trip. I just don't think that was the intention.
So it will give Ottawa a first and goal from the 3-yard line. They empty out the backfield again. And it will be Crum who will take it to the goal line. Did he get in? No. It will be second down and goal from the 1. He does get 2 yards closer, though.
You don't see a lot of quarterback sneaks from the 3. And again, in a game where you're trying to make evaluations, I don't get that play call from Ottawa. I get it.
Well,
maybe.
You want to see if you can execute short yardage, for one thing.
Yeah, I do get that. But I think a quarterback sneak, I don't know. I don't know how many reps of that you need. They've had about 7 tonight.
Let's be honest, Dustin Crum is going to be no better than QB3. QB2 if he beats out Adams, and Adams had a good night tonight. And there's a touchdown as walking into the end zone is Dustin Crum. So you may be interested in seeing what your potential backup offensive line is doing here on short yardage to see if they can beat a guy. I'm just trying to think why they would do it. But you can make a pretty good argument about that as Crum goes into the end zone for the second time in the second half.
And I guess the other argument, if I'm looking at the other side of it and saying, well, why would you quarterback sneak? Well, maybe it's just a case of not wanting to put more out there. Maybe they have a limited number of short yardage plays they've got. We only want Toronto to see this 3 or 4 play set we've got. So maybe that's it as another Argo runs on the field late here.
Ottawa should snap it, and they don't get it off in time. Should mention that was Crum with a touchdown run and a touchdown pass here in the second half. Kick is up. Got it. Now a little bit of trash talk perhaps going on. Nothing further develops, so Ottawa has taken a 2-touchdown lead at 34-20 with 7:08 remaining here in quarter number 4. A reminder, June 6th will be celebration day for the Toronto Argonauts. Here's what you do. If you want to go, I won't give you the games yet. I will say one of them is the opener. I'll give you that one. On June the 6th, follow me on Twitter, at Mike Hogan Argos. I will give you a discount link for 3 games. Okay, one of them's the CNE game. I'll give you that one too, because I'm a nice guy, and here it is. We're in the 4th quarter. You've been nice enough to watch us on CFL.ca, continuing to watch us, even though the starters are long gone. So on June the 6th, I'll give you a discount code. And if you use the discount code, guess what you get on the tickets? A discount. That's why it's called that. So follow, again, at Mike Hogan Argos. And then on June the 6th, the magic code will appear. And then you'll have an opportunity to get some discounted tickets. Like the Argos tickets aren't inexpensive enough. It's already the best deal in town. And we're just going to make it better for you. Pack the park to watch the banner be unveiled. You get your replica ring. You can get a discount on the tickets. And you can watch the Argos beat Hamilton. I mean, what better way to start the season?
No, it sounds perfect. Great deal. So, yeah, if you're not following Mike Hogan already on Twitter, make sure you do so you can take advantage of that deal.
And you should be already. Jeez.
And if you're listening to this broadcast, you probably are, but it's still a good reminder.
I would hope so. I'll have to check and see if anybody followed me tonight.
Ben Holmes is helmet strapped on, standing
That's
next
good.
to Coach Dinwiddie, so this may be his opportunity after this kickoff return.
And here's the kickoff. And it is going to be Mason Pierce taking it back inside his own 10-yard line. Far numbers, 20, 25, 30, 35. There he goes. He could go. Midfield, one man to beat, and he will be forced out of bounds. No flags. Great return by the Colorado School of Mines product, Mason Pierce.
The happiest man on the field right now is Enoch Penny-Laye because he blocked an Ottawa player in the back, and I don't think there was too much question about that on that return. It did not get seen. We have a pretty good view of it up here, but yeah, he's so happy that didn't get called. You could see him try to pull back at the last minute, and that would have taken away a fantastic return from Pierce. We were waiting for that one, and yeah, Pierce delivered.
About a 67-yard return unofficially, with Ben Kelly short-hopping the intended receiver, Ungerer. Ben's body language isn't good.
No, just right away, he's off on that pass, hangs his head right away, and it's so important to have confidence as a quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, we saw quarterbacks like Dane Evans, a quarterback that I have a lot of respect for, really good quarterback in this league. Last year seemed to lose his confidence a little bit, and you didn't get the same level of play out of him. Let's hope Ben Holmes has not lost his confidence.
2nd and 10. Over the middle, almost A pretty nice catch for B.J. Bird, but it will go 2 and out for Ben Holmes. And out come the Argos to try the field goal with Gachuz.
Yeah, it was going to be a tough catch for Bird. It was pretty tight coverage, though. There wasn't a lot of room for Ben Holmes to sneak that in. He tried to go low where the defender couldn't get to it, but it was just too tough a catch.
Gachuz has shown off a very strong leg in camp. And it's tough because you're going to be immediately compared to the other kicker who has the strongest leg in the CFL, and Boris Beattie. Here's the kick from 42. It's up, and it's good. And the all-time leading scorer in the Mexican Pro League has his 3rd field goal of the night, and it's 34-23.
Yeah, Gachuz has looked really good kicking field goals. He's the real deal. He's a good field goal kicker. I wasn't a fan of his punt earlier, but I don't think that's what he's going to be called on to do. I think he's here strictly to serve as a backup to Boris Beattie, and if something unfortunate did happen to John Haggerty, you have to imagine Beattie would probably take over that punting duty as well. So you want to put him out there and see what he can do in terms of the full kicking game, but I think he's here to kick field goals if something goes wrong, but that's probably all he'll be relied upon for.
And I guess it's perfect for him to play for the Argos because the name of his team in Mexico, the Raptors. So there's a little MLSE simpatico going on there, which is good. 5-time scoring champ in the LFA, all-time leading scorer, most field goals in league history. And as mentioned a little bit earlier, the Argos first rounder in the global draft this year was drafted. The Argos knew he was going to go to a minicamp with Pittsburgh. I read an article quoting their general manager as saying, you won't believe this guy's leg strength. And he has shown in camp that he has a bomb, and he's kicked 3 straight down the middle for field goals tonight. Also converting a touchdown twice.
The Argos have done a really nice job with the global draft. You know, you've got Haggerty, who, as a punter, I don't know if there are that many global players more valuable than your starting punter, and one of the better punters in the league
All-star
last
year.
Yeah,
led the league.
Yeah, played extremely well. And then Tiki Sanko, who was drafted a couple of years ago, and he's been a contributor. He's been out there on game days, and again, Gachuz looks legit. So yeah, nice job to the Argos brass once again.
So, change up the quarterback here as well with Jake Dunaway in, I believe. No, it's still Cruz, or Crum. My bad. Sorry about that. I thought they made the switch, but they did not.
And like we said on that last drive, the Argos are hungry. They're taking chances here. Another blitz, sending a lot of pressure, and there's a little bit of urgency just in their step, and not only in the play call. They want to get this ball back and quick because they're starting to run out of time. Even by CFL standards, you want to get that ball back with about 4 minutes to go, 2 scores down at least.
5:19 remaining here in the fourth quarter. 34-23 REDBLACKS. Pressure, red, and complete out to the 50-yard line to the 51, and good for 11 and a first down. While we were talking about Haggerty, guy born and raised in Australia, goes to Western Kentucky, right? Which isn't the North, but it's not the South. It's kind of Southish. He comes up here and plays in the Grey Cup in a ridiculously cold week. And he led the league with a 48.2-yard average. His average on 6 punts in the Grey Cup was 49.2. That's saying something. First down at the 51. A little swing pass out to the far side. And the Argos miss a couple of tackles, and downfield to the 51 or 52 of the Argos was... Didn't see who that was. My apologies. Oh, that was Daniel Oladejo. Okay.
It's too bad. Keith Washington.
Another University of Ottawa guy. Sorry about that.
No, you're right. But yeah, Keith Washington in great position to make the tackle. Couldn't quite finish the job there and let him get away.
A couple of yards to get on second down. Crum look things over. They've really done a nice job running the football here in the fourth quarter, and will do so again. And again, it's Polk inside the 50. He'll get the first down to the 47-yard line.
The Argos sent 5 again on that play, and everyone's looking to the backfield. They know Ottawa's going to run the football at this stage. Ottawa would, you talk about Toronto wanting a win going into the season. You can bet the Ottawa Redblacks want to win going into the season. They played their starters pretty deep into the game in the first week of preseason, and we're clearly looking for a win and something positive for Coach Dice. And so, yeah, they'd be thrilled to get out of here with a win tonight.
At the 47-yard line, it's a first down, Red Blacks. And it looked like the Red Blacks went offside there. We'll see what the call is, as there was good penetration there by the gentleman we were talking about a little earlier on, Tyler Williams from Wake Forest.
Hassel came around the outside again, too. It looked well-timed, but are they maybe pinning him for being offside? No.
No, the receiver on the near side was Oladeo again. Little bit offside. Jumping the count just a bit. And they'll decline it. They'll take the gain of 0, and it'll be second down and 10 from the 47-yard line. Clock moving just outside the 3-minute mark. Argos down by 11. 3 receivers come to the near side. They will throw this time. They'll set up the screen the far side and just did not work. And the Argos will get the ball back unless Ottawa wants to go for it on 3rd and 10 or try a 54-yard field goal. I assume they'll be punting. We'll find out. As we've hit the 3-minute warning, 2:53 to be exact, Argos down 11. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, again, the aggressiveness, though, a fire zone blitz on that last play, which you just don't see a lot of in preseason. But it shows you they want to get the ball back. They want to try and make this a game. Are we going to see a score, an onside kick in the last few minutes of a preseason game? It's kind of feeling like this is a way more important preseason game to both of these teams.
Showing some Chad Kelly drive highlights. There's a touchdown to Ouellette. And saw the one to Ambles. Is this the other one to Ambles? No, that was to Brissett, who had a nice first quarter as well with at least 2 catches. We don't have the stats up in front of us.
Kelly's got such a nice arm. He's just so much power on that ball. It sometimes looks like there's not a window there, or sometimes that he just missed a window, but he's just got enough juice on his arm strength that it doesn't really matter sometimes. If he sees it and there's still a split second to make that read, make the throw, he'll make it.
He is the starting quarterback. There is nobody in this building worried about him. There's the injury to Shane Richards on that play. And again, he was helped off, put no weight at all on his left ankle as he was moving back and his ankle got caught with the ankle of Gregor McKellar. It was weird. Just a weird play.
Yeah, like I said at the time, I've never seen that before. I don't think you could try and do that and have it work. It's just a freak injury. And, yeah, we're just hoping that Shane Richards is okay. But like you said, it didn't look good.
So 2:53, getting ready for the punt. And it's going to be Pierce, who had a 60-plus return on the last one. He'll stand back at his 10-yard line. Again, a rocket, a high punt by Julian will come down at the 14-yard line, and there's a whole lot of white there. And Pierce is going to bubble back and see if he can get the corner to the 15, spinning to the 18-yard line. A long run to get about 8 yards.
That's an impressive 8 yards, though. There was nothing. There was absolutely nothing there. He tested it out to the right side, drew an extra coverage man over, and then bust out to the other side. But, yeah, Ottawa's, they know the situation. They're not going to let him take it the distance on that, and they did a good job pursuing, but still 8 yards out of nothing at all. He's been exciting.
So here is Ben Holmes back out.
And you have to feel like this is it for Holmes. He's got to really prove himself, because I don't think the Argos keep 4 quarterbacks going forward. This is for a job here.
So he'll put it in play from the 18, dropping back, looking downfield, over the middle, has a man. There's the catch. And it is a nice one by Keon Williams out of the University of Buffalo, from the Buffalo native, Ben Holmes, specifically Orchard Park. I didn't think anybody was from Orchard Park, the home of the Bills. But Ben is from Orchard Park. And they're out to the 39-yard line with a first down. Clock moving at 2:20. Holmes back to pass. Steps up. And will now take off. He'll get to the 50. He'll get to midfield and slide to the 52-yard line. So another first down after an 18-yard scramble from Ben Holmes, who is up on the ball. Argos in hurry up. Down by 11. At the 52-yard line, 3 receivers come to the near side with the ball in the middle of the field. Holmes goes far side to the numbers, in and out of the hands of the intended receiver.
That's just as well,
B.J.
too.
Bird again.
That wasn't going anywhere. Bird would have been tackled probably for a loss at that point. So
Stops the clock.
Yeah, a drop is not a bad thing there. It's frustrating for a play caller here because, again, there's only a finite number of plays that they want to show here, and they're not working with a full playbook in this situation. And so, there's only, and most of the plays they're running, Ottawa's already seen 2 or 3 times tonight. So it is a bit of an uphill climb, more so than it would otherwise be.
The 3 Canadians come to the near side as Holmes goes in the middle, almost a circus catch, as it was tipped almost to himself by B.J. Bird, whose name we have called a lot tonight, including on a touchdown on a punt return.
Holmes just put too much juice on that. It ends up going high. Bird was wide open, and now that's a ball we've seen him catch before too. He couldn't drop anything up until this quarter, and he's had a couple go off his hands here, but that's more on Holmes, who just threw the ball in high and with a ton of pace.
And they're going to go for it on 3rd and 10 from the 52. 4-man rush, has a man over the middle, is picked off. Intercepted by the Red Blacks. And that's going to put the exclamation point on this one as Tariq Lewis out of Utah, the first-year Red Black, first-year CFLer with the pick. And with 1:48 remaining, the Red Blacks leading by 11. They will get fairly conservative right now on offense.
Yeah, with Ottawa in cover 2 man, there's just not a lot of space. There wasn't anywhere for Holmes to go on that play. He knows the situation. He has to get the ball downfield, and he threw it to a guy who was covered because everybody was covered on that play. You can't really blame Holmes too much on that one, but it's going to be tough for him going to the sidelines, knowing that he's thrown his 3rd pick now in 2 weeks.
And they'll keep Dustin Crum in at quarterback. I wonder if that's because they've already decided Tyree Adams is QB 3/2, depending on Masoli's health, and just wanted Dustin Crum to take snaps. And Jake Dunaway was also dressed tonight. I don't remember him getting a snap.
No, I don't think we've seen him.
Argos call their 1 timeout allotment within the final 3 minutes of the half. The other one used on a unsuccessful challenge. After the 6-yard gain, it sets up a 2nd down and 4. 1:43 remaining. Again, next time the Argos take the field, it will be at BMO Field. They will be playing the hated Hamilton Tiger Cats. So there'll be a good contingent of Oski Wee-Wees coming down the QEW. They will get to see their hated rival, the Toronto Argonauts, unveil the Grey Cup banner. Also, to every fan, the first 10,000 of whom go through the gates, they'll get a replica Grey Cup ring, which is cool. There's the run out to the 49-yard line for the first down. And it's Polk again, who has showed nicely here in the 4th quarter.
You have to hand it to the Ottawa REDBLACKS, who were very undermanned coming into this game. And it's not like Toronto's playing all their starters, but they're playing far more starters than Ottawa was. And while I do think Toronto outplayed Ottawa in the first half, this Ottawa team has given Toronto everything they had. And yeah, they made some big plays early, and they got maybe lucky a time or two, but they've fought really nicely, and they're just outplaying the Toronto Argonauts, plain and simple now.
Running play of the gut for a couple, which will keep the clock going with 1:13 remaining. They'll reset it and then start the clock. And in Ottawa, it's about changing the culture, much like the Argos did a couple of years ago, where all of these victories are victories. And for the guys who were here last year, let's face it, they had a tough year last year. They just want to get, I hate the term culture change, but that's what they're trying to do. They want to get that winning momentum going into the season. So this is a good win for Bobby Dyson Company. 8 to go on 2nd down, and they will go ground a game. And a gain of about 1. setting up a 3rd down and 7. The clock will keep going after they, or start again, I guess, after they reset it. 48-7 remaining now, so they'll be able to kick it inside 30 seconds.
And Coach Nice is going to be happy with this win, no question. But I think he probably would have traded it for a win at home last week. The Ottawa REDBLACKS so desperate for a home win, as are the Edmonton Elks. It's just so unusual to see a streak go on like that for such a long time. We've been spoiled with the Argos in Toronto, who have had such a good home record over the last 2 seasons. You forget about the hard times sometimes.
So Mason Pierce will drop back. Punt return has been good tonight.
Yeah.
Not only Bird for the touchdown, but this man had a nice one earlier this quarter. And 2 flags come out, 3 flags come out. This is not going to be good news for the Argonauts with 21 seconds left. When all 3 flags are almost in perfect alignment, 1 from each sideline, 1 from the middle, probably not good for the Argos.
Yeah, and I was wondering which block in the back they would call.
Illegal block, Toronto, number 42. We have to distance to the goal. First down, Toronto.
Well, it'll be Quantez Stiggers out on special teams.
That was one of the 2.
Final cuts are due. I don't know when they're going to release them. They are due Saturday at midnight, so probably Sunday morning. You will be able to see which decisions have been made. But while the players will get some downtime now, not so much for Mike Clemens and Vince Magri. High snap on this play as Ben comes down the near sideline, and it goes incomplete with 14 seconds remaining. But they've got some work to do, and it'll be the coaching staff getting together with Vince Magri and Alex Russell, and we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, there are some really tough decisions to make. I think, especially receiver. I think if you're looking at one positional group where it is going to be the toughest, I think it's got to be there because you're talking about decisions to make with both Canadians and Americans.
Cam Phillips, Lonnie Moore, B.J. Bird, Damati Coxie, Keon Williams, Hadel, Daniels, Ambles, Rajay Johnson. That's just the Americans. As we see a run to the near side, out to the 21-yard line. That was that Dan or was that Deontay? It was Deontay McMahon.
Yeah, McMahon takes that one, and you saw that little juke. He has just a little sneak peek of what he's capable of after he gets the ball in his hands. Just this little shimmy right there to make a defender miss, and then ends up in contact, and this will be the last play now of the game.
And they don't want to get anybody hurt, so they're just going to take a knee, which is a smart thing to do. After a loss to Ottawa tonight, final score is going to be 34-23 in favor of the REDBLACKS. Some positives, some negatives tonight, but that is expected from a preseason game. And when they play in a couple of weeks after the second first-round bye in 3 years, somebody gets a bye every week. Somebody's got to have it week 1, so it's the Argos again. But it will be a chance for the guys to rest after a very tough training camp, very competitive training camp here at Guelph. A chance for the coaching staff to look at what went wrong over the 2 exhibition games, or preseason games, as it were, and try and get a game plan in order for Hamilton. They'll be able to see what the Ticats do week 1, so that is an advantage of having a bye in week 1, as the Ticats will be looking at a lot of very vanilla film from the Toronto Argonauts 2 preseason games.
Yeah, they just haven't shown too much. And I think the good that comes out of this for Toronto is, yeah, they didn't win the game, but that was sort of second priority. The evaluation is the most important thing right now. And I actually think they saw enough tonight. They had the guys that we're sort of asking questions about, they gave opportunities to.
Sure.
And they should have enough data now to be able to go back and see.
There's Mason Pierce with his big run down the sidelines, punt return in the 4th quarter. A look at Holmes with the catch to Keon Williams. And the tough thing is, being able to see some of these American receivers, I mean, it seemed to be somebody was nicked up every day. And it's like, okay, who are we going to see next? There's Ben going back again. There's the interception. Tommy Neal with the touchdown. Tommy Neal, we didn't talk about him tonight. He had a really good training camp. As people trying to figure out within the organization what the Canadian receivers, we talked about the Americans, but, with Dejan Brissett, and with Curly Gittins Jr., who didn't dress tonight after the scare in Hamilton. Tommy Neal, David Unger has had a solid camp. Savon Magnay-Jones we didn't talk about tonight. So there, we a couple of times we talked about Richard Burton, a draft pick. It'll be curious. I'm curious to see what they do and how they allot their Canadians going into week 1 as well. We can say at least Curly Gittins as a receiver, 3 at least on the offensive line, 1 of the linebackers for sure, and the safety for sure in Mechie, which leaves 1 more. Is it an extra offensive lineman? Is it an extra receiver? Or do you do a rotation on the defensive line where you either have Sam Achimpong and when he comes out you put Robbie Smith in, or Benoit Marion or Deontay Knight? You can do that. I'm curious to see what they do because there are options.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be defensive line or receiver. I think it's really just between those 2 spots. You could find a way if you wanted to sort of hybrid receiver running back as well with Andrew Harris and Daniel Adebaboye in there, but it's just a much more difficult proposition. So I think you're going to see them dress either 2 Canadian receivers or have a designated defensive lineman out there who's Canadian.
Well, thank you so much. Whether you're an Argo fan or just a CFL fan who wanted to get your fix with some Thursday night football, thank you for joining us. Thank you to CFL.ca for making this available. We streamed it last year. We hope you're able to enjoy it again this year. To everybody behind the scenes, thank you for the technical production tonight. Give me your little plug for what you're going to have happen here on X's and Argos.
So if you want to listen to a post-game reaction podcast, I've got to drive back to Toronto, and then we'll be recording until about 3 in the morning. But by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, you want to listen to a podcast and you're driving to work, X's and Argos is the podcast to listen to, and you'll have our full post-game reaction. Before
week 1, we will have a radio announcement coming up with some of the details about what we have planned for this season. From an Argonauts perspective. And again, June 18th, come to the game. Get your replica ring. Watch the banner be unveiled. And we have some more surprises in store. And be following me on Twitter, at Mike Hogan Argos, June 6th. And you will get a discount code for that game and a couple of others. So thank you so much for listening and viewing the game tonight. And we will talk to you once again on June 18th.